Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Wednesday night. Here we have the WSSR Cup Series action as the drivers get ready for a tough one this evening as the WSSR Cup Series heads to Pocono for race number 2 of the season, as the drivers get to test out their skills at the Tricky Triangle after an incredible finish that we got to see last week at Atlanta Super Speedway. Tonight, we get to see a little bit more of a tougher task. It's away from the super speedway styles to one that's a lot harder. It's 3 very different corners, long straightaways. Teamwork might be a factor as well as how do you work with those around you. And we're happy to give you all the coverage here tonight on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer, and joining me up in the booth is going to be Richard Wolsifer. And Richard, it's great to be back for another race, second one of the season, and it's here at Pocono.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Glad to be back up here in the booth again. And yes, a very different racing style from that of the super speedway racing we saw at Atlanta. Really long 2-mile track here at Pocono. And like you said, these 3 different turns, it's going to be a lot of passing in different areas, but these drivers got to learn to, take on 3 different turns throughout the entire race and worry about the people around them. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Still, draft is going to matter here because it's a very long track with very long straightaways as well.
Those straightaways are going to be massive. How do you work with the drafting factors as well as the corners? How well can you find yourself keeping at maximum speed off the exit? But the field obviously coming off of last week's Atlanta race, where Atlanta, you can call it Atlanta Super Speedway with the style of racing you get to see, but Atlanta Motor Speedway last week got to see Cody Reed grab his second career WSSR Cup Series race. He won Talladega a few seasons ago, but back in the victory lane for himself, and kind of an oddball surprise win. I mean, Richard, he even said he wasn't going to be racing for the full season, but with this win, he's now going to be going full time.
Yeah, that's great to see. I mean, you come in, you kind of just want to run a league just to have fun, and when you win the opening race, you kind of got to commit now, and it's good to see it. It's good to see Cody's going to commit the entire season, race every single race, and try to go for that championship. It'll be nice to watch him try to keep that momentum from that first race, and we'll see if he can keep up the aggression that he showed last week coming in here.
There's a lot of drivers that are hoping to get a little bit of a better run, possibly here this evening for themselves. We're going to be having currently top of the board Joshua Kanata in the 16, Douglas Newbegin in the 7 is second fastest here tonight during practice, and Chris Ditz third fastest. All drivers looking for a solid recovery run after maybe not the best finishes they were hoping for after last week's race at Atlanta, but it's early in the season, and that's one of the graces is even if you have a bad first race, you've got the rest of the season looking ahead.
Oh yeah, one race early in the season is probably the best you can ask for, because once you get later in the season, that's when points start to really matter. But one race with 15 more ahead of you, you've got a lot of time to recover, and honestly, this is probably going to be a decent track to recover from, because you can pretty much sit in the same spot and gain even a little bit of spots here and there. You don't have to worry about a big one happening like you did at Atlanta. So Atlanta, kind of a little bit of luck at Atlanta, a little bit of skill, a good old mix. Here, it's just going to be pretty much all skill. I don't foresee everybody being in a massive pack like you do at super speedways. So this could be it. This could be your nice little, let's get my momentum rolling, get a nice, clean, smooth run, and see how far we can finish tonight.
We'll see who's got the bounce back and who can continue on with their great momentum into tonight. After last week's race at Atlanta, we head to Pocono. Again, 3 corners, and it could be all coming down to just qualifying for some of these drivers. Qualifying going to be highly important. I was talking to some of the drivers during practice, getting a sense of what this track was feeling like. They were saying grip levels were swinging back and forth. It was kind of odd to see how this track was feeling at times, at maximum grip, and others was falling away. But currently for the field, weather conditions look perfect. It should be plenty of grip. It's going to be a lot of hard racing action. But Richard, a lot of talk on the fact that lap 2 is going to be that money lap.
Yeah, you're definitely going to want to get the momentum from this track, because just getting the fast run down that, coming out of turn 3, it might not be the fastest way around the track, but you're going to get that momentum for that second lap down the front stretch. And when you cross that line, you're going to be faster than you were the lap before. And that's what's really going to set the difference between lap 1 and lap 2. And as we're riding along with Ben Kinney and now Christopher Wade as they come out for qualifying.
Field's getting ready for qualifying. The field is going to be having 5 minutes to put down their fastest lap. They will only have 2 laps to do so, but if they hit the wall or they find themselves in the grass, that will invalidate their lap time. As the field is getting prepared, it's going to be Ken Campbell, the first driver to be leaving pit road. Plenty of others have also taken off, but 3 very distinct corners that this field's going to be handling here this evening. Turn 1 going to be the highest banked corner that all these drivers will be handling. It's going to be modeled after Trent Speedway at 14 degrees banking. Then the second highest of the bankings, not very much banking to work with. It's going to be modeled off of the Indianapolis corner in turn number 2 at 8 degrees of banking. And then turn 3, it's the lowest amount of banking, but you can try to carry as much speed as possible, only at 6 degrees, and it's modeled off of the Milwaukee Mile. I think all these drivers have got a good taste of what Pocono is like. We were originally scheduled to be running the old Pocono surface, but due to the amount of drivers that have signed up for the WSSR this season, the admins decided, you know what, we're going to go with the current model of Pocono on iRacing. So the field has plenty of spots where they can have parking for pit stops, and as well, the servers won't be having any issues on iRacing. Those were some of the big worries entering into this week. So changing it up, going to the current model of Pocono. Richard, this track looks to be a lot smoother than the ones that they were expecting to run as they entered last week. But it's certainly everyone has a good sense of what Pocono is like as these drivers are starting lap number 1.
Yeah, this configuration we're running tonight is the one that they race, during the official races and things like that as well. So it's one that all these drivers are familiar with. Because I know a few drivers, name a few like Gavin Rogers, they haven't really been able to practice lately. So being able to switch to the newer configuration here at Pocono kind of saves a lot of people with the practice time. So they're not worried about the massive bumps and the bumps they're not expecting on the old surface. So we should be able to produce a lot of really good racing today, as Christopher Wade is able to take the top of the standings right now.
As he took it for a quick moment, and it's going to be James Scioli that comes away with the quick speed for himself. This is lap 1 that all these times are coming in. So some drivers going to be trying to find that sense, but Gavin Rogers, very low, slow mistake for the 75 as he's trying to find a way to get that speed marched in. Take the back, that's not a mistake, as he's going to be having the different number of 77 on the car, 75 on our ticker. Gavin Rogers warming up for this first lap that he's about to tackle as Joshua Kanata on his second lap, top of the board over Scioli.
Yeah, phenomenal lap for Joshua Kanata, getting that second lap, fast lap, taking it over Scioli. And right along with Gavin Rogers here, it looks like he's going to be able to throw down a pretty good lap. Let's see how it turns out for him.
It looks like for himself, he just started his first lap, was for this 75 machine as he's getting rolling here. Now it's going to be Vincent Sora second on the board. Other drivers that are on their final lap to watch out for. John Ross looked to be a fast driver. It looks like he has made a mistake. That will not be a time that gets clocked in. Fastest of the first laps, though, is the 7 machine of Douglas Newbigging, as he was going to be ranked 5th fastest after his first lap. He only a 10th off of Joshua Kanata. So watch out for the 7 machine as he's about to be finishing his second lap, as Gavin Rogers about to be starting his final lap as he exits at a turn number 3. Should have plenty of time to finish this lap, I should say that, but it's actually going to be very close on if Gavin Rogers can even get a second lap in.
Yeah, that is the downside of waiting so long to qualify, especially on a track like this where you're running almost a minute per lap. You don't have a lot of time to be able to just sit and wait, and I think that's what Gavin might have been doing with only 35 seconds left of qualifying. He is about halfway through the track, so he could potentially squeak that final lap in. Joshua Kanata still sitting at the top of the board, though. So Gavin Rogers getting ready to take, looks like, turn 2.
Oh, Zach Hall now top of the board for the 1. That is by 2/1000ths of a second is Zach Hall over Joshua Kanata with his lap. Gavin Rogers, though, is counting down to the seconds. I think he might be a second off from getting to the line. It's going to be close, and it's going to be coming down to just 50 to 100 feet away, and he comes up shy. Rogers, luckily you got a good first lap in, 13th on the board, but not good enough for the pole. As we finished up qualifying there, it looks like it's going to be our past champion, Zach Hall, top of the board for the 1 machine as we enter into our warm-up session. Warm-ups for the drivers, last little bit of practice as well, gives us a clear picture and take a look at how the season's been going so far. As we got our points, we got our schedule and our pick'ems to take a look at. Let's start off though with taking a look at our point standings after race number 1. It's quite simple. We saw a lot of great points being grabbed by the stage points, and James Scioli maximizing with great finish late as well as great bonus points. It's going to be seeing the Scioli in the 77 top of the board in points with Cody Reed in second. But our cutoff, you see at the battle, it's Levi Cox as well as Joshua Kanata down there at 16th and 17th.
Yeah, that cut line is something everyone's got to worry about, because we're going to take the top 16 to the championship playoffs here. And Joshua Kanata are not able to hold the pole on, as like we said earlier, Zachary Hall being able to pull off by 2/1000ths of a second, but still starting P2. This might be the run that Joshua Kanata is looking forward to try to squeak his way into that top 16.
And Josh Kanata so great at finding some good consistency throughout a season. I think his ultimate goal, just get a decent finish at the end of the day, and he'll take that reward. As that is your point standings just after race number 1. We'll take a lot more of a deeper look as the regular season goes on. As you know, those numbers are going to change in positions as well, going to be shifting around quite a bit. But here's what's going to be staying stable. That's going to be our schedule throughout this season. As we will take a look here, we got Pocono for race number 2. We head to Auto Club for race number 3 before we find ourselves at Atlanta 2008 configuration. I think that's going to be the fun race to see, as we will have Thanksgiving break between Auto Club and Atlanta before Nashville Superspeedway, the Red Bull Ring, and then we have our holiday break 2 weeks for Christmas as well for New Year's before we're back for Kansas at the middle of this season.
Yeah, really nice spread of tracks there. I'm actually really looking forward to looking at that or watching that Atlanta race. That old configuration of Atlanta still produces phenomenal racing for these drivers. And then, bringing in the international courses like we've been seeing over the past couple seasons, headed to Red Bull Ring there in Austria. That track, it kind of reminds me more of Sonoma mixed with Watkins Glen. A lot of really fast straightaways, but also technical tight turns as well. So a lot of really fantastic tracks, a lot of fantastic racing coming up, and some good breaks in between with great races before them as well.
And then after that holiday break, I think we're really going to get into a lot of racing for quite a while, because there will not be any more breaks after that New Year's break later in the season. As for us, though, here tonight, it's Pocono, second race of the season. We always have our pick'ems, who we think might have a chance to win here tonight, or just drivers to watch out for as this race progresses forward. And I'm going to go with one that maybe seems a little obvious to some, maybe risky for a Pocono track. I'm going to go with Ryan Kelly. The consistency by the 3 is always there, and I feel like with a track like Pocono, the 3 could be a big threat here this evening. I'm going to be going with Ryan Kelly as my pick here tonight. But Richard, it's your time for a pick. Who do you feel like is a driver to watch out for this evening?
I think I'm going to go with one of his teammates there with the 67 of Larry Yingling. I have always seen speed in him throughout the seasons, and he showed a lot last week. So I think this is going to be one of those tracks that he can get into a really good rhythm and take his car straight up front.
And our third member of our group, going to be running productions in the background. We have Robert Moyer Jr. with us, and he will be going with the 2-time winner of this race, Brian P. Johnson. Brian won this race back in Season 2 and in Season 6. We'll see if Season 10 has the docket for the 28 here tonight. So those are going to be our 3 drivers to watch out for: Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling, and Brian P. Johnson. As we get ourselves prepared for racing action, we also want to have a quick thank you. We'll do a better rundown of the sponsors, but we want to say thank you to the major sponsors that are teaming up with WSSR this season, that being GTR Simulators. If you're looking for great simulators to get yourself out on track, head to gtrsimulators.com and use the promo code WSSR for 10% off. As well, thank you to Trophy Smack. Trophy Smack is a great place to go if you're looking for championship trophies, belts, rings, or more. Head over to trophysmack.com and use the promo code WSSR Smack for 10% off on purchase. It's around the time that people are getting ready for fantasy football. Go find that trophy that's meant for you. As the drivers here tonight, cleaning up, finishing up, warm up, it's about to be race time for Pocono race number 2. 90 laps is going to be on the docket here this evening, with our stage at the end of lap 20. Zero fast repairs for the group, 4 extra sets of tires in pit road, and the fuel window looking to be around 39 to 42 laps. So these drivers going to be close on trying to turn this race into a one-stop after the stage. We'll see if they can march it to that place or not. But first, we got to take a look at our starting grid here this evening. As taking the top spot, his first pole of the season, it's going to be the one machine taking that number 1 spot of Zach Hall. To his outside in the 16 machine, who was the fastest during practice. He'll be the second fastest during qualifying. It's Joshua Kanata for himself. Behind them in row number 2, we find the 51 of Vincent Sora, who also looks to be a major threat here tonight. With the last time we ran at this course back in Season 8, Larry Yingling, who's also Richard's pick. And we fall back to 5th position with James Scioli in the 77. Brian P. Johnson, Robert's pick, will start in 6th place. 7th, it's going to be my pick of Ryan Kelly in the 3 machine. 8th, we find the 7 of Douglas Newbigging, with Brian Noel in the 00 going to be in 9th place. And finishing off our top 10, it's going to be Nick Crawford in the 74.
And P11, we're going to have Cedric Hunter in the Hello Kitty number 13. To his outside, Ollie Fonseca in number 24. Gavin Rogers not having the strongest, our pole setter last season. P13 in the 75 with Ken Campbell in the 15 and P14. In 15th position, we're going to have Chad Wilkes in the number 6. And in 16th, Ross Tatum in 21. Number 27, Jarrett Talmadge is going to be starting 17th. On the outside, Levi Cox, who's just above that cut line, in 18th in the number 99. Starting in 19th position, we're going to have Shane Tarian in the number 9. And his outside, in 20th position, Cameron Thompson in the 41.
In 21st position, we find the 88 of Drew Jua. Back in 22nd place, you double it, you find the 44 of John Ross. In 23rd, it's the 02 of Connor Berry. In 24th, we find the other 2 machine of Danny Cochran. In 25th, we find the 42 of Leroy Koblitz. 26th, we find the 8 machine of Brian McCann, with Ryan Ferraro, as well as GT Rosario going to be in 27th and 28th. Jared Hughes in the 68 will be in 29th position. Justin Malarkey in the 73 will be down in 30th.
In 31st, returning from a break, Brendan Colley is back in the number 78, and to the outside, Bill Hull in 32nd in the 48 car. In 33rd, we're going to have Tom Sinchek in the number 26, and to his outside, Cody Reed in 34th. In 37th, 35. In 35th, we're going to have Tyler Dingler in the 19, and to his outside, Timothy Harper in the 18 in 36th position. 37th, going to be Christopher Wade and Ben Kinney in 38. John Forbes sitting back in 39th in the 11. Christopher Norris not getting the qualification lap down in 40th position. Chris Stitz in 41, and to round out the field, Adam Kraus in 42nd.
42 drivers made it here tonight, and that was a worry for some, because if you did not put a qualifying time in, and we had over 43 drivers, one of them was not going to be able to race here tonight. 43 is the maximum drivers can race here on WSSR each night, and cutoff numbers would have been interesting to watch with some of the drivers returning that have not been here. Like you said, Brandon Colley, the big return. It's great to see Colley back out on track, a veteran of the WSSR. Going to be hitting the course here tonight. We'll see if Pocono is going to be good graces for that machine. Being up front, though, Zach Hall, Joshua Kanata, hoping for a solid run. And if you look at the past here at Pocono, if you start on the pole position, you've won. Back in season 6, it was made by Brian P. Johnson, who got the pole and won the race. But 4th place seems to be the money spot. If you've started 4th, you've won 2 out of the 3 last Pocono races, and that's where Larry Yingling rides. We'll see if the numbers line up for either of those 2, or will it be someone else hitting victory lane here tonight, as Pocono race number 2 of the WSSR Cup Series Season 10 is green, as Joshua Kanata as well as Zach Hall take us down into turn number 1. Richard, here we go as they try their first attempt, scattering in this first corner.
And the excitement starts as they dive into turn 1. We got some 3 wide back in the pack, even up front, and it looks like it is going to be Zachary Hall taking the lead out of turn 1, followed shortly by Joshua Kanata. Does look like they're all starting to square out and get in line. This is a long, actually really short stage, only 20 laps, so we'll see how calm these guys can be or how aggressive they're going to be for these first 20 laps as they round turn 2. Zach Hall extending that lead.
Extending the lead, and we'll see if the ground never kicks in on the front stretch. The 1 just got a much cleaner launch than anyone else. Has been able to pull away from the 16 machine, but they're going to be stacked 2 by 2 from 3rd on back. A lot of drivers trying to find spacing to move forward and hoping it's their lane that's able to tack on and go forward, as Zach Hall in the 1 machine will lead the first lap here tonight. Last season's champion, wanting to get on the right foot in the winning column, and if he can get it done here tonight, a great positive return after a very poor race that he had last week at Atlanta. Just was never able to find spacing to move forward, as some drivers, though, get a little bit of smoke trying to hold steady in the middle of the field, and that's going to be the big problem of the night. Exit of 1. How many drivers can hold on after big slides?
Yeah, big slides are going to be a key to watch out for, especially turn 2, because that is a very tight turn. You can get really loose. The car unloads really well there. And if you're side by side, I mean, it could be disaster for a lot of cars. But they were able to save it. Everyone kind of fanned out a little bit, but everyone's back in the groove, back lining up, getting the draft. And we're starting to see a lot of just single file racing now, which is kind of expected here at Pocono.
Single file until you fall all the way back to practically last place, where they are still 2 by 2 and almost 3 wide for a quick moment. That's going to be a lot of the battling around 32nd position, where we find John Force, Tyler Dangler, Christopher Norris, and others still trying to fight 3 wide, just trying to find any space possible to go forward. And what's troubling for them is that we got a lot of fast guys that are stuck back here. John Forbes, one of them that we're riding on board with. You have last week's winner, Cody Reed, right in front of him in 31st position. And behind these drivers, you've got Drew Jua, Chris Stitz, Brian P. Johnson, the 2-time winner of this race, stuck further on back. And they've got a lot of work to try to move forward in. It's going to be a tough night, being all the way back outside of the top 30.
Yeah, that's going to be really rough. It's going to be a long, long race for those guys, because it is not quick to move up through the field here. It's not like the packs together. You can make passes 3 wide and zoom on by people like we were seeing at Atlanta. When people moved up through the field fast there. But here, it's a lot of momentum. You got to have the right runs coming out of the turns or going into the turns and make those aggressive moves. So it's going to be a long, grueling race for a lot of these fast guys in the back. They're going to have to weave in and out of traffic to try and figure out how to get around these slow guys.
A big reason why end-of-the-line penalties given out for some of the drivers to start this evening, one of those being for Brian P. Johnson as well for Drew Jua to start tonight's race. So we got a lot of work to go forward, but already up front battling for the top spot, it's Joshua Kanata, Zach Hall side by side as these drivers are rocketing down into turn number 3, hoping for a clean exit if possible, as Hall's stuck on the outside. He's going to have the slight advantage as they come up to the outside wall, and a draft to help goes to the outside groove as Larry Yingling follows this 1 machine forward, and Kanata, he's trying to side draft, and that's the big advantage for these next-gen vehicles compared to the trucks and the Xfinity cars that we've seen in the past here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Oh no! Trouble strikes Cedric Hunter and others into turn number 1. It's the big one. Multiple drivers still piling in.
Not often do you see a big one happen here, but that was a huge hit for Cedric Hunter, and the car's just sliding down the track and nobody had anywhere to go. That was a rough hit for Cedric and all the cars involved.
And it looked to be Cedric Hunter, Vincent Sora, the big grouping, and Brian Noel, drivers that are around one another. that found themselves in this incident. It just would look like bad bumps heading into the corner as they exit out of turn number 3, head down to this long stretch, the longest part of this whole entire race. And the big thing of note, you've got yourselves the 77 going to be on top of one another of James Scioli, as well as the 00 of Brian Noel, all going to be on top of one another. But it looks like it's Vincent Sora who gets the bad bump out of control, gets into the 13, and then it's just madness and pandemonium that strikes afterwards.
Yeah, something you don't see very often here is really bad pushes, but that's what happens with different braking zones. I mean, it's not just full throttle into these turns, and I think that's just what that was, a product of just different brake zones and people not expecting it. And then just the cars clearing down the track, and everyone had to separate, just hardly anywhere to go. But unfortunate break for Cedric Hunter to see him almost basically out this early in the race.
And it's going to be a lot of drivers trying to cycle to get around this incident. We'll run on board with Brian Noel and get a sense of what he was seeing in his cockpit, because they're just riding along trying to head into turn number 1, and then it's Scioli bump into the 51, and then away they go. Just there's no way to react to that situation when you're those 3 drivers of Sora, Hunter, as well as scenes right here of Noel, as it's going to be Jared Hughes and Chris Stitz. Hard contact after the incident had already completed.
Yeah, you never like seeing that either. The wreck's already happened, people are stopping, and you just have another car coming in just almost full steam and just get a rear end or something like Jared Hughes there. Unfortunate to see. Hopefully some of these guys can at least get some repairs done and recover at least some kind of a run, because that won't be the last and only caution this race.
No, and we've seen this in the past here at Pocono. There's a small chance of races finding themselves with just a minimal amount of cautions. Back in season 2, when they first ran here at Pocono, just 3 cautions were thrown. Season 6, there was only 1 caution thrown, and that was for the stage break. But the last time they ran back in season 8, that was when they were in the Gen 4 car at the time. And so that car was very brittle, it was very easy to spin and wreck, but they had a total of 8 cautions that night. And they're hoping not to be getting close to that number. But I want to go back to what you said, Richard, when we went green. This stage is very short when you look at the numbers, just 20 laps. And with having a caution in the middle of it, it makes it even that much shorter.
It really does. Now it's just basically a sprint shootout for the laps. I mean, we only completed like 5-6 green flag laps there. So it's going to get even more aggressive for the drivers that want to come up and try to get that top 10 to get those points, because points matter. Every point you can gain is a point or position up in the point standings themselves to try to make that cut line. So a lot of aggression there already, some bad pushes and different brake zones for the checkups. So we'll see how aggressive these guys get. And we saw, someone like Cody Reed, he can be really aggressive. He was really aggressive last week, which helped score him that win. Let's see if he can do the same thing here and get up there and get some stage points to continue his run for this championship now.
Lights are still on as we wait for the lights to turn off. That will give us the 1 to go indicator. As we're still waiting, you don't have to wait for very much longer on ad reads, as we've got a special thank you from GTR Simulators. GTR Simulators is one of the best places to go if you're looking to have a racing rig for yourself, to have your racing steering wheel, pedals set up together. GTR Simulators is partnered up with Stake F1 team Kick Sauber to feature their special edition GTA Compact V2 Stake F1 team Kick Sauber foldable racing simulator, an official license product of Sauber Motorsports AG. Go head over to gtrsimulators.com and remember to use the promo code WSSR for 10% off. That's at gtrsimulator.com to experience pro-level racing from your home with the GTA Compact V2 Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber setup. Thank you so much to GTR Simulators for joining up with the WSSR Cup Series as a major partner that's joined with the WSSR over this off-season. We're so proud to have them coming on board for season number 10. As well, a huge thank you to a sponsor that's carried on as the WSSR made their great return back in season number 4. It's been incredible to have Trophy Smacks as one of the trophy providers for the WSSR Cup Series. First, it was rings for 3 seasons in a row, and the last 3, it has been championship trophies, customized for the championship winners of Benjamin Nelson, who won back-to-back, and then last season it was Zach Hall's championship win. As you're going to TrophySmack.com, check out their wide selection of trophies that you can have for yourself for winning high moments or for losing low moments. They got trophies customized and pre-made for you. Remember to go to TrophySmack.com and use the promo code WSSRSmack for 10% off. As the Trophy Smack machine up front of Zach Hall wants to continue to stay up front. He's being heavily pressured by Joshua Kanata. See if the 16 has any other fighting windows to try to attack this one, or will the rest of the field just get too antsy and say it's go time? Again, stage break at the end of lap 20. We're coming up to the start of lap number 9. You will have only 12 laps to get inside of the top 10 if you want bonus points. Let's see whose aggression is on a high as your bottom 2 drivers get a great launch for Hall and Yingling. Kanata kind of stuck where he's at right now. No assistance just yet as they head down into turn number 1. Here we go, Richard, rest of the field. They're ready to finish out stage number 1.
They're ready to finish out. That is the benefit of being first place there for the restarts, is that restart was in control of Zach, so he's able to get that launch. Larry right on the gas pedal, also following right to the front as they take position 1 and 2. And top 6 looks like they're just kind of in line, ready to ride it out, but it is 2 wide and 3 wide, the rest of the field all the way back. Everyone trying to get every position they can and as far up as they can for these last 12 laps of racing.
Shane Darian in the 9 machine really shipping it, trying to get by Ross Tatum in the 21. That mellow yellow machine on the outside, trying to hold steady. You see both yellow machines, the Ollie machine that gave the huge bump to Cody Reed last week in the 24, just ahead of this group, trying to find a spot where to go. And speaking about where to go, let's try to go 3 wide as that's passing being made back in that 17th to 20th position. And seeing drivers taking every opportunity possible to go high, low, anywhere you can go as the field continues to find a way to slot themselves in line. And speaking of slotted in line, Danny Cochran forcing his way into that outside groove.
And that was definitely a close call, but he was able to inch his car in, gets a little bit into the back there. They're able to keep it straight. Danny Cochran really aggressive there, but that's what we got to have. You want to get up there and get stage points. That is what he's trying to show. He's ready to get up there and make moves. He wants to get to the front as quickly as he can.
And that was while we were riding on board with the 44 of John Ross, but right in front of a little bit of a wiggle and struggle happening for the 27, I believe. That's going to be seen, actually the 27, yes it was, of Jared Talmadge. Gets squirrely in the middle of turns 3. The rest of the field had to check up. They're almost going, think about 4 wide for some drivers further on back. They think better of it. But this field, they're utilizing every little piece of this track through the corners. Off the exits, the 44 of John Ross trying to hold back the 9 of Shane Tarian, as well as seeing the likes of the 88 of Drew Jua, as well as Cameron Thompson, all trying to find ways to go forward as quickly as possible. But it's Drew Jua who started all the way in the back against, had a end of the line penalty for the 88 machine. He's gone by Shane Tarian, and now up to 15th place. A great charge for the 88.
That is a phenomenal charge by the 88, and yeah, they are doing everything they can, using every inch of this track to try to get up to the front. Not only that, they're using every bit of tire they can as well. We've seen a lot of people get a little loose, trying to get as much speed as they can as we ride along here with Brian McCann. And there's still a lot of 2-wide racing here, but that outside line seems to be prevailing for the most part because they're all lined up with that big, chain of draft. So everyone having pretty smooth racing here, though. The aggression seems to taper off just a little bit. Just regular passes here as we got some passing going on. And a big wreck in the back.
Oh, no. That's going to be Ben Kinney, who's going to be finding himself spun around, as well with Tyler Dangler. They're going to be slow for themselves to take that back. Actually, that's going to be Brandon Colley who's going to be involved with that incident. There's no oncoming traffic as they were sideways, so no yellow flag will be thrown, as that was all the way in the back caught up with that wreck. It was also going to be Bill Hull, who's also involved with that incident. 3 drivers caught up in the wreck, but we stay green, and that has got to be a frustrating moment for the return of the 78, who made an exit a few seasons back just because he was caught up in random incidents and very much a victim, caught up in a lot of wrecks, and once again, caught up in another one. As we stay green up front, it's now Larry Yingling leading the race for himself as he's gotten by Zach Hall, and our front runners starting to get a little bit more antsy being 2x2.
And Larry Yingling able to take the lead from Zach Hall, and he stayed low there also to try to pull Joshua Kanata along. It's not a bad move right there, trying to bring it too wide to next to Zach Hall to kind of try and bring them both back, but unable to get enough draft to Joshua Kanata. Zach Hall still in the chase right up to the bumper, trying to chase to get that lead back before the stage end.
Also have a report after our first major wreck with Brian Noel, Vincent Sora, Cedric Hunter. 2 have called it a night of Vincent Sora and Cedric Hunter. For Vincent Sora, our 2-time champ, looks like he'll be finishing outside of the top 38 for the second race in a row. This championship has just got a lot harder for the 51 machine if he wants to go become a 3-time champ this season, as his night is over. Also still in pit road is Brian Noel and Jared Hughes, as Collie and Ben Kinney have both just entered pit road.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate end to the race for Cedric Hunter and Vincent Sora. You don't like seeing it, especially when it's a prior champion like that of Vincent Sora. Rough start to the season for both of them. It's going to be a long, long mountain to climb for points for those guys, but hope to see them come back stronger the next race. But hope they can enjoy, at least a little bit of calm for the rest of their nights. They don't have to worry about the field, driving to the field. As Zach Hall looks to be putting a little bit of pressure here on Larry Yingling for the lead, getting closer ever so slightly every single lap passes.
And taking every advantage possible at this moment is going to be our top drivers, is Douglas Newbigging. Another big factor watch out for from that Lucky Ducks Motorsports team. One of the faster drivers. I think when you see Douglas qualify well, he's usually always stays up front. Big thing last season was a lot of self-sabotaging moments that hurt him from great, fabulous finishes. It could have been a championship contender. Was Douglas Newbigging. He's hoping that he's cleaned up those issues into this season 10. As looking at some other drivers out on track, you see the 24 of Ali Fonseca, the big push that allowed Cody Reed to take the victory last week. Open for a solid finish here tonight. Finished 5th last week. Wants to finish inside of the top 10, potentially top 5 for a second time. Behind him, though, is the challenge for who's going to get that last bonus point. We have 5 laps to go before the stage is over. It's Ross Tatum as well as Connor Berry, and now you can call in Jared Talmadge. Talmadge, I'm surprised by this. He was one of those drivers that had a big slide for the 27 in the beginning of this last run, and the 27 has fought back to now be right on the tail end of this battle for 10th.
The battle for 10th for that one last point is definitely heating up as they're all trying to get every inch of this track possible to get around. But it looks like Ross Tatum's doing a good job kind of keeping around. Connor Berry could just be biding his time, waiting for that moment, but a huge drive into the turn by Jarrett Talmadge there, but it has to fall off just because better run for the guys who slow down a little bit more into that turn. But there's a good 5 or 6 cars there that could potentially challenge for that 10th and final stage point spot.
Absolutely could, and some drivers going with the strategy call of I'm not going to be in position to take stage bonus points, but I can take track position after the fact. It's going to be Timothy Harper entering pit road, and when you go into pit road, it's very hard to go a lap down if you have a clean stop. So the 18 taking the gamble, pit tires, going to get back up there on track and hopes to get track position once the stage is over. As the battle for that 10th place spot, it's Connor Berry. Can he hold back the rest of the field as well for Ali Fonseca, because they've got some hungry wolves behind them? Now it's Drew Jua, Jared Talmadge. Both have been climbing their way forward, and both now here to take these final top 10 spots if possible.
Ross Tatum is able to get around Ali Fonseca, but Ollie's still fighting back, taking the lead back, or taking 10th place back away from him. So a fantastic fight for this 10th and final point spot here, as they are 2 wide, still fighting for this position, still with 4 laps to go in this, or 3 laps to go in the stage.
3 laps to go, and Jared Talmadge got a huge push from Drew Jewell, but I think for Drew, he's finally found the opening where he wants to be, and this 88 machine on the outside is gotten by Talmadge, he's gotten by Tatum, and by Campbell. It's now just getting by the final two drivers ahead and maybe take 2 bonus points. If he can get by Fonseca, who drifted through that second corner here at Pocono.
Yeah, Holly Fonseca is giving everything he has to keep his position, but Drew Jua's looking low, not able to get his nose there. Going to fall in right behind, still getting squirrely coming out of turn 3 down the front stretch. They're just going to stay in line. We'll see if Drew Jua has enough momentum. Looks like Ollie's pulling just a little bit away. Let's see if he can make a move here. Looks like he's looking low. No, he's going to fall right back in line. He's going to go high here, probably try to get the run going down out of turn 1. But if anybody could do it, I think Drew Jua could pass Ollie here for this 10th and final spot. Looks like he's making a move now. Looks low onto Ollie as they get ready to hit in turn 2. Let's see if he can clear him out of the turn 2 here. Side by side, getting ready to dive in, and he does. Clears Ollie going into turn 2. Drew Jua, P10.
Drew Jua sent to the end of the line to start this race off. It was a big surprise. He qualified in 21st position. He's been marching his way forward, one of our bigger movers of the night. Connor Berry also has been moving forward quite well, but now coming up to the white flag of this stage, it's Zach Hall trying to snake around, but because of that little bit of a move to the inside, he gave an opening for Larry Yingling. He'll dive down low for a chance to go for the pass to the inside. Finds his way to be a nose ahead. Hall's got the better positioning now, but with that side drafting and pinching to one another, watch out for the 7 to Douglas Newbigging. He's going to have the cleaner launch of the 2 drivers, but he stays high and follows Hall instead.
Decided to follow Zach Hall on the outside, giving him a push out front. Now you got Zach Hall and Douglas Newbigging 1-2. Larry Yingling not giving up, staying side by side. He's going to try to side draft. No, gives a little bit of space. Newbigging getting the draft from Zach. He might be able to clear him going into turn 3 here. Zach, a great lead though, as they're coming to the final lap here. They're about to finish the stage. I don't think anybody's going to get Zach. Drew into Douglas Newbigging is able to clear Larry Yingling, and Zach Hall taking the first or the stage win here in lap
20. Great stage win for the one machine for Zach Hall, able to fight even with being that pass by a nose by Yingling into turn number 1. Fought back with a better run off the exit. Douglas Newbigging, I thought maybe for a second he'd try to force it 3 wide, but willing to just take the second place points for the stage. Those are still massive points to take for this 7 machine. He will be second, as here's your points and how they will run down. It's going to be Zach Hall maximizing with 10 bonus points with Douglas Newbigging, Larry Yingling, Gavin Rogers, Ryan Kelly, Chad Wilkes, as well as Joshua Kanata, Nick Crawford, Connor Berry, and Drew Jua with the march through the field. We'll take that one final bonus point here this evening. As the drivers are chasing to run down the pace car, they're about to be thinking about pit road, and we'll see how the drivers can cycle through, as we will take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll try to talk to Zach Hall, as well as give you the rundown on where drivers will line up after the stage, as a lot of different strategy calls. Some pitted before the stage break pit road closed at the end of the stage. Others will have to pit now. We'll have to find out here shortly, as you are watching the WSSR Cup Series. We'll be back right after this for more Pocono action. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. All you missed were some pit stops being made as 4 drivers were able to cycle their way up front, being Shane Terrian, Timothy Harper, Levi Cox, and Cameron Thompson. Going to be those 4 drivers that stay up front. The race off of pit road actually goes to Douglas Newbegin in the 7 machine, as Zach Hall, your stage winner, will fall down to 6th position. Let's actually see if we can queue up that 1 machine and see how he is feeling after a fantastic stage win and taking that pole as well. Let's see how the 1 is feeling for himself. Zach, it's Sam and Richard up in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, Zach, you take the pole early. You're fighting up front with Yingling as well as Kanata. You come away with stage win. How are you feeling after those first 20 laps?
Very surprised. Pocono's not one of my strong suits personally. And when we switched it to the new version, I was kind of thinking, man, this is going to go against me, but it seems like it's actually worked out. So that pole is surprising. The stage win's surprising. Maybe not going to surprise myself with a win, but it's going to be tough. I think strategy is going to be key, and track position, of course.
Yeah, a lot of speed coming out of you today, Zach. And, coming near to the end of that stage, were you a little worried that Douglas might have the momentum to be able to get around you or not?
I was looking there going into the tunnel turn because I noticed he cleared Larry, and I was like, man, I got to make sure I don't let him try something here. So I kind of made a little bit of a defensive move, kind of like shadowed off to the left a little bit, kind of making him have to choose high or low. So it seems like it worked, but 10 points, we'll take them, and 2 playoff points already. I'm ecstatic, especially after last week.
Yeah, especially after last week. Zach, last question for you. How do you feel like you can try to continue to stay up front for the rest of the evening?
It's going to be key. You got to make the passes at the right time. You get to the inside at the wrong time, you're going to see a lot of these guys go backwards. So got to be smart and pick and choose those moments, man.
Well, good luck, Zach. We're going to send you back to your team, and good luck for the rest of the race.
Thanks, guys.
As that will be the 1 machine in the TrophySmack.com car. That will be Zach Hall, who's currently going to restart in 6th position on the outside, with seeing the drivers ahead going to be on slightly older tires than the rest of the field. Shane Terrian, Timothy Harper, as well as Cameron Thompson, Levi Cox, going to be on around 5-lap older tires, only about 3 laps of them being under green flag conditions. How big is fresh tires compared to slightly older ones? Well, let's find out. You see that green flag in the air. It's about to be green flag racing. Stage racing is over. It's all about the win. As they enter the restart zone, we are green for Shane Terrian and Harper as they roar down into turn number 1. Richard, it looks clear as the outside lane got the big launch.
Yeah, Shane Terrian did a fantastic launch as the leader, but that outside lane running strong, was able to get a little bit of a run there. Not able to clear the 99 of Levi Cox, though. So he, first and second, going to sit there up front in line, but we got double wide firework racing all the way back. But yeah, we got a long 70 laps of racing now, so this is where everyone's going to find their momentum, find their groove, kind of chill back and figure out, how fast they want to come up, or they want to kind of take a conservative route, save some tires for late run moves.
Late run moves, or make them now as Timothy Harper gets right on the inside quarter panel of Shane Terrian, almost getting a clip, and he gets staying in line and gets major takeoff off the exit of turn 3. A couple of drivers scraping the wall, and that's going to be something we see throughout the night, is how hard do you scrape the wall, or do you smash it? As drivers further on back getting into one another, it's a big wreck. I believe that's going to be Tyler Dangler involved in the 19. Multiple drivers were just getting slow and out of control. Ryan Ferraro also going to be one of those drivers, as Christopher Norris, aggressive side drafting with the 10, and it goes wrong for both of them. We stay green, but the biggest of damage going to be given to Tyler Dangler for himself, as he's going to require damage and set to pit road.
Oh, and it looks like he is struggling to try to get that car even back to pit road. It looks like he's going to stop and take the tow. Some heavy hits for a lot of those guys. Brendan Colley looks like he got involved a little bit. He's fallen way back also, kind of out of the main pack. Unfortunate to see, and no cautions still. Another shocking thing to see. So that's a big upset for a lot of these guys that were either involved or had to slow down because of the incidents they were in front of them.
It might be your reason, questioning on the reason why. The reason why they were not sideways and over a 45-degree angle with oncoming traffic and slowing down. Those are the three main factors you have to be looking at in the iRacing coding, and not all three were shown at the right time to bring out a yellow flag, so we continue to stay green. That's going to be hurting over 3-4 drivers for this run, as we are, like I said, still green flag racing. It's Shane Terrian leading the charge, but for how long is going to be the true question, because the one driver that's been on the move up front has been Douglas Newbigin, but you can see here, they're still willing to go 3 wide, almost 4 wide, as backing out was GT Rizari. This is in the middle of the pack where drivers are getting very antsy between one another, and I thought we were going to see 4 wide for a quick moment. This is back outside of the top 20. This is battling for just inside the top 30, actually.
They are still getting into each other's doors and fenders as well. This is really aggressive racing for this far back in the field, but that just goes to show they don't want to sit back here. They want to try to get up as high as they can, because when green flag pit stops start, you want to be, midfield or further, just so you can, come out about that point also. But fantastic racing by all of them, still getting into the doors, almost making it 4 wide, still keeping it straight, and still hard, aggressive, good, clean racing.
And now as that was all going down, the battle for the lead still raging as Douglas Newbigin and Shane Terrian stay side by side for the lead position. Timothy Harper sticking in 3rd place with Cameron Thompson in 4th. So Old Tires still able to hold up front quite well currently, but it's Douglas Newbigin who's done the best job advancing forward, as Zach Hall still stuck in 5th place. But could be one of those moments where if you're Hall, you're in traffic, you might try to find a way to save your tires, but these drivers are all getting stacked up on top of one another, looking very similar to that first wreck where drivers were just so on top of one another. Just one difference on the braking zone could throw this whole entire cluster of drivers into a very big mess.
Yeah, we saw that earlier with the different braking area for some of the drivers for the first caution of the race. So you got to be very careful. Sometimes being too close to a driver can spell disaster, but everyone doing a great job kind of keeping their noses clean. A lot of close calls there as he tried to get into position. Ooh, a lot of really close trying to fill in the gaps, make sure you're in the line to get the draft as well, because you get stuck on that inside. A lot of cars just hitting the wall as well coming out of turn 3.
That was Drew Jua, who was trying to follow the 16 of Kanata, just followed up into the outside wall. Hard contact, at least it was a pancake hit, to not require damage, but too many contacts like that, you will begin to require damage flag, or just terminal damage that it's going to mess up your steering if you're not careful.
Yeah, that's one of the newest updates to iRacing also, is the damage over time, basically. So you hit that wall enough, it's eventually going to break a toe link versus just how hard you hit the wall. So you got to be careful and kind of utilize that. It could be utilized to your advantage, but don't utilize it too much, as Levi Cox got a little bit of a moment there and gets passed on both sides. Looks like he's starting to fall back. Those older tires just not doing him any favors.
Yeah, it was a question of how long could these tires hold on to the rest of the field as hard contact, multiple drivers piling in as the 41 scatters around, multiple others. It looked like also Scioli, and drivers are still piling in late, as it was the 41 machine that gets shipped around, as that's Cameron Thompson off the exit at turn number 3, excuse me. It just got out of sorts quickly, and it looks like it was Zach Hall and Thompson who get into one another to start it off.
Yeah, just a little loose there, then just cars coming in at high speeds. I don't think he didn't really do anything wrong, just 3 wide, nobody really giving any space. Just unfortunate timing for the spin or the rear end to come back around, involving another 2 or 3 drivers. Just unfortunate to see. It could have been a lot worse, but looks like 3 or 4 drivers kind of involved in this one.
As we'll take another look at it, Scioli as well as that 9 Levi Cox could be the ones that were additional to this incident. We're right on board with Scioli in the 77 as he watches this incident blossom in front of him. Just trying to run your own lanes on the inside, staying low on the yellow line. You see a carnage in front, just smoke, nowhere to go, and I mean, it's just so unfortunate the fact that seeing the 41's rear end clock back in. Scioli heavy front end damage for the 77, but it was going to be Levi Cox who gets then slammed in the front end by the 41 there late. I mean, the 44, excuse me, there late. which was a big surprise to see John Ross just nowhere to go for himself. But that's adding more drivers with required damage. Cameron Thompson, Levi Cox, both going to be added with the Jared Hughes, Brian Noel, Vincent Sora, and Cedric Hunter. Required damage and sit in pit road for a while.
Yeah, that definitely could. I mean, there's a lot of things that could have been done different there. Unfortunately for Scioli, I think, honestly, if you, I can't tell if he was on the brakes or not, but I feel just the way that the car kind of reacted, I feel like he could have saved his nose there a little bit, but nowhere to go. 99 just kind of got hit by the 41 by an unfortunate, wasn't expecting that rear end to come around on him and just pushed him up into Scioli. So unfortunate to see for a lot of these drivers, more drivers parking it for with the meatball damage. Hopefully they can get some repaired and come out and try and recover some of these positions.
Currently, drivers that have officially called it a night, being Cedric Hunter, Vincent Sora, and Ben Keeney so far in the 98 machine. As the rest of the field trying to figure out, okay, what do we do at this moment? Again, tonight's race, 90 laps in total. We had our official stage break at lap 20, where a lot of the field just came into pit road and got service done. When would you think about making another pit stop? Because these drivers were given a total of 5 sets for the whole entire race. They started off with 1. They had 4 sitting in pit road for this evening. And most of these drivers have already used 1 set, so they got 3 for the rest of this race. I'm curious on the fact that we didn't see a big difference on tires, if anyone would risk coming into pit road at this time, or do you wait until later on in this race to try to get closer to that one-stop window that some of these drivers are looking for?
Yeah, that's a big question. It really seemed like tire fall-off wasn't too terribly bad. You still have Shane Terrian and Timothy Harper up there running strong to Newbigging and Hall. So, I mean, right now, I think your best bet is probably just go ahead and still shoot for that one-stop chance. Just wait for the fuel window to open up, then go get fuel and tires then, because the fall-off doesn't seem to be too terrible bad right now.
As these drivers are getting the lights to turn off, so that is our indication. This is 1 to go. We're going this time by. Again, a report on drivers that just came into pit road. Going to be Thompson, Check, Ollie Fonseca, GT Rosari coming into pit road. They are going to take 4 tires in fuel for themselves. Getting some damage repair goes to Christopher Wade in 27th position, as well as more repairs for the drivers that were involved in that last wreck of John Ross in 28th. Levi Cox, Ryan Ferraro caught up in the restart incident that didn't actually bring out a yellow on this last run. John Forbes also getting repairs, getting some tires as he's back on the lead lap for the 11 machine. James Scioli is going to be back out on track. Same for Bill Holes, Brandon Colley. It's everyone from 35th on back, still in pit road for Thompson, Dangler, as well as Noel and Hughes for those damages to get done before they can get back out on track. Drivers up front, though, Douglas Newbigging, if you look at those that are inside of our top 22 positions, freshest of tires, leading, going to be the control vehicle for this restart. I mean, Richard, this is a prime position for the 7 to try to stay up front until they have to make this next pit stop.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get the jump on the restart because it's in his control. So he should be able to get a good launch, good jump to the front, and be able to control the race from that point. But we'll see. I mean, Zach Hall has had speed this entire race. If he can get around Shane and Timothy, I think he can make a good run to get back up in the lead from Douglas Newbigging again. But we'll also see a really good difference in what tires will make, as we have quite a few drivers in the back of the pack, which is probably not a bad idea that they came in and took tires, because they've got nothing to lose being back that far. Might as well take some fresh tires and try to make your way through the field again.
Gonna try their best as pace car makes the hard left-hander pit road. It's time to get back to green flag racing, and Douglas Newbigging not waiting for anybody. He's already got a car length over the rest of the field. As Timothy Harper, Shane Terry, they'll stay side by side for that second place position. Everyone else snaking and diving for any chance to move forward. And it's the 88 of Douglas, gonna be of Drew Jua, trying to close in the gap to his teammate of Douglas Newbigging ahead.
Douglas Newbigging able to get a great launch, going to be able to keep that lead from Shane Terry and Timothy Harper. So great jump from him, great lead.
Side by side for second place, Shane Terry and Harper still squeezing against one another. Hall, big wiggle off the tunnel turn as getting almost, I think, a push from the 88 of Drew Jua. Jua has been showing the fact that he's willing to make these big moves. If he has a run, willing to utilize it to its fullest potential. But a little bit of a slide up from Harper and an opening for Zach Hall. He'll move up to third place as the 18 trying every way to slow down the rest of the pack, as he did not get a perfect run off the exit of turn 3. And it's the 18 being swarmed from battling for second, now all the way back outside the top 5.
Unfortunate for him, he just gets kind of shuffled all the way back, you know, in the middle of their 3-wide racing. But that could be the drop-off of tires. We'll see how long Shane can last as well, as he is trying to snake and follow Douglas Newbigging to try to keep that draft. Newbigging doing a great job snaking across the track, trying to break that draft so they don't get a run on him. But Shane doing a good job following him around also. The rest of the pack, though, still staying in line, trying to get that run, keep that train moving, and try to catch those 2 in front.
Drew Jua trying to find an opening. Any mistake by the one machine. It seems like out of the tunnel turn is where Zach is trying to maximize the most speed, but it has been really looking like a lot of tension on the rear tires of the one. Other drivers through the front stretch. You see that snaking action. Everyone trying to stay in line with the draft to keep momentum, get a little bit of extra speed before hard braking into turn number 1. As the rest of the field still 2 by 2 in the middle of the pack. Drew Jua still not able to get by Zach Hall for that 3rd place position, but you can see the front 5 all willing to snake. It's around 8th on back where they all just say, you know what, we'll just stay in line. We don't need to be snaking back and forth.
Yeah, the Pocono stake is finally showing its face here early in the race. It's just a good way for these drivers to try to break that draft so they can stop the run that everyone's trying to get. As we ran around with Gavin Rogers and Ken Campbell here back in 10th and 11th. Gavin trying to break back up into the top 10 here. Is now it's just Douglas Newbig and Shane Tarian doing the snaking, and back and forth he goes. That's your typical view right there in Pocono, seeing the snake. Only 2 cars doing it. We might see more later in this race, though.
Yeah, I got a feeling it's just because of the amount of spacing between that 3rd, 4th place position from our top 2. You might get seen a little bit more snaking. There's a little bit more action of drivers, not as dramatic as Drew Jua trying to break just slightly over the likes of Zach Hall, but we're looking here on screen, seeing the likes of Larry Yingling trying to find his way to stay up front. Yingling 14th place. He's actually got behind him. That's Chris Stitz. Stitz involved in that first wreck. Heavy front end damage that he was dealing with. It still has some decent pace. I'm majorly surprised on how well they're running right now, as the 17 trying his best to stay attached to the driver that won this race 2 seasons ago. Larry Yingling trying his... I mean, at this point, it just doesn't look like there's enough pace at this time for the 67. You're kind of just stuck in limbo of you push now at risk of burning up your tires, or you just settle in line, but you might lose that front pack that's pulling away.
Yeah, I think at this point, it's just kind of save your tires, let them burn their tires up in front. Because you're not going to make passes very quick. So I think that's what Larry might be doing here, just kind of saving his tires, maybe an end of the fuel run, or end of the fuel window run. Try to get, maybe 4 or 5 more positions before those green flag pit stops happen. So, but Stitz here, as we're right along with him, like you said, the front end damage, this is about all he can do. He's not going to be able to really make any moves by himself, because he's just going to be punching a bigger hole with that damage he's got. So as long as he can stay in the draft, he's going to be able to keep up with whoever's in front of him and at least kind of salvage some kind of decent finish for him for the rest of this race.
As right now the 17 slowly closing in through the corner. A little bit of racing action for 2nd place Shane Tarian, as well as Drew Jua, going back and forth on who's going to be in that 2nd place position. Tarian finally doesn't have the draft help to keep that 2nd place spot as they hit the tunnel turn. Instead, it's Zach Hall that will take the advantage to make the pass and move up to 3rd place. Tarian will slot into 4th, but it's Drew Jua just pulling along the rest of this pack to catch up to Drua's teammate of Douglas Newbigging. And talked about Douglas Newbigging's woes of last season. It just felt like he could never catch a break, as it was always self-sabotage, a spin here, a spin there when he was inside of the top 5, top 10. Here tonight, showing a much stronger and more consistent drive than what we saw all of last season by the 7 machine.
Yeah, even last week, it wasn't really a lot of self-sabotage either for him. So last season was just kind of a a rough season for him. Hoping that that's a big turnaround this season. He does seem to be a little bit more consistent. Not really kind of ruining his own races. Even had some penalties he had to serve as well from last season. So that's always a hurt to have for your championship run. But Lucky Delta up there in P1 and 1 and 2, they're going to be working together. As teammates. So that's good to see. And Drew Jua has had one heck of a climb up through the field on the same pit strategy as Zach Paul and Newbiggie up here in the front. Up 19 positions from where he started in 21st.
Yeah, it's been crazy to watch the drivers that have been able to find their way moving forward. Maybe it was because of strategy calls, but finding yourself up front is a big positive to find, as Nick Crawford, one of those that's made a small divot into moving forward from where he qualified, started 10th here this evening as the Snowy Desert Racing driver currently is trying to find a way to get by the 16 of Joshua Kanata, as well as having Connor Berry in the 0-2 behind him. And I think Connor Berry, another one of those drivers you got to give kudos to, as he's done a great job trying to work his way forward. It was kind of a part of that Jarrett Talmadge and Drew Jua campaign that was moving through the field in our first stage. But as we still have ourselves 50 laps to go, about to be the start of 49 to go as they cross the line. Douglas Newbiggie up front, and one driver we haven't really talked about, but was one of the fastest in our first stage. It's Chad Wilkes here in the 6 machine. Lucky Charms did not have a lucky run last week at Atlanta, but currently finds himself in 12th place, but has top 5, top 10 speed. This 6 might be someone to watch out for as the run continues.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job tonight after an unfortunate wreck last week at Atlanta. Just kind of taking it easy back here in 12th. He's got some great pace if he's been watching all race. He's up only 3 positions from where he started. That's nothing to look shy upon still. Still making great progress, sitting in front of Ryan Kelly, one of the favorites to win this race today.
And Ryan Kelly, another one of those drivers, finished 26th last week, hoping for a good top 15, top 10 run if possible for the 3 machine. Larry Yingling, who started 4th, as well as Brian B. Johnson, another one of those drivers that had to start at the end of the line for a penalty for the 28, just cracking into our top 15. So we've seen the movements of drivers that found some decent speed, finally able to surge forward with an attempt to fight, as watching the battling on screen for the drivers around 8th, 9th, and 10th. That's Jarrett Talmadge, Ken Campbell, as well as going to be Gavin Rogers, as they are trying to find a way to move forward, and drivers are moving backwards. Timothy Harper, old tires, he really fell off from that 2nd place position back to 6th, but I got to give kudos to the fact that this 18 machine is still just outside of the top 10 and 11th place. The drop-off I thought was going to be more dramatic. He's only 2 seconds off from where he was when he started to make that decline.
Yeah, the tire fall, only 3 laps of green flag running on those old tires. He's done a fantastic job trying to maintain them and doing a really good job up here in 11th after starting so far back. He started 36th position to be up here, 25 up from where he started here in 11th. He's doing a fantastic job, made a really smart decision to pit early, and didn't go a lap down for doing it either, because he knew he didn't have a chance for getting stage points, and just doing everything he can to hang up with these front runners and start these green flag pit stops not too far from now.
As we were given the fuel run around 39 to 42 laps, we're going to have to try to recalculate what those numbers are going to be. I believe that's around lap 48 to around, that's going to be around 50 to around 48. I think that's going to be the window we're looking for these drivers to make that pit stop. So we're closing in, like you said, quickly here. I'm curious on the field, though, because a lot of them topped off around that stage. Some came into pit road during our last caution 13 laps ago. They could push it out pretty far. And with the lack of drop-off on these tires, I'm curious if anyone's thinking about the overcut of staying out as long as possible, or are they waiting on a caution that almost felt like was going to blossom there, as tough racing for 21st position. It's going to be the 44 on the outside, as well on the inside of Tom Sinchek in the 26 black, white, and red machine. And also the drivers that assisted one another to help win last week. Cody Reed, that's actually Ross Tatum in that yellow machine. But Cody Reed getting very close as these drivers 20th on back, giving a show here late in this run.
Yeah, it's really good to see racing all the way back in the field this far back, still trying to get every position they possibly can. I mean, they're not just sitting in the line, so giving us a show this far back, it's great to watch. We're not just seeing the leaders run up front and try to make passes. So it looks like they're about to go 3 wide as well. No, not quite, not able to get the run. They're still going to stay 2 by 2.
Driver trying to force it 3 wide. That's John Forbes, and this is no surprise. If you watch on Monday nights for the ISRC Truck Series, John Forbes in the trucks is one of the he looks like almost like a wizard at times with how aggressively he'll throw it to the inside, but yet it will stick. Feels like every time that he attempts an aggressive move, here in the next gen cars try, as the last few seasons has been trying to find a little bit more consistency, more confidence in this next gen cup car. And I think he's found that little bit of confidence. Again, caught in a unfortunate circumstance, pitted early at the end of stage 1. Thought he was going to take an advantage of, just like we saw from Shane Tyrion, Timothy Harper, a track position. Was caught 1 lap down, was not able to take the wave around or even get the lucky dog. Had to wait for a caution, and finally has been on the advancement going forward, and other drivers as well, trying to find any placements to move forward as well as they can. Here's a battle for 16th. It's Chad Wilkes in that Lucky Charms being challenged by Danny Cochran in the 2. A little bit of rubbing as they head down the corner, as the corner that they're going through, and surprised to see some of the contact, but at the same time, Richard, I mean, with how aggressive some drivers are being with side drafting, the contact is bound to happen at some point.
I mean, yeah, contact's going to happen here. Side drafting is really aggressive, and it just also the downside about side drafting is when you start doing it, it does kind of tend to pull the car into you. But also, like that fender-to-fender contact we've seen, that's just the nature of them trying to use every inch they can to get the right angle into those turns to try to get the speed to get right in front of the person they're trying to pass. So that's just a product of stock car racing. That's what's going to happen, and nobody's spun. It's all fair playing game here in the WSSR Cup Series.
Here at Pocono, we are officially into the second half of this race, and we are now in the zone where drivers can try to take it from here. Early pit stops could be a question of, do you feel like you can pit now or do you pit later? And as well, if you come into pit road, the tough decision is, are you going to have anyone join you to have some friends entering pit road? That's going to be the big thing I'm curious about for some of these drivers that maybe are looking to stretch the field out as long as possible, is do they have a friend or an ally they can draft with that can keep pace with some of our front runners? Because that's something we really haven't touched on, is if you pit by yourself, you are at a major disadvantage compared to those that pit with a group.
Yeah, I mean, that's where this track kind of is similar to the super speedway, where like the draft, it isn't like super speedway racing to where you're going to see, I mean, kind of like the train right here, but like it is like you still need the draft. It's still kind of a necessity to go fast, and if you don't pit with anybody, you're going to be hung out to dry, and you're going to be running probably a second or 2 seconds slower than the rest of the field. So it's definitely a necessity. You definitely need to make some friends out there, find some teammates, and pit together, but make sure it's close enough to where you can pick each other's draft up, so you can either stay in front of the pack that's coming or catch back up to the people in front of you.
Find teammates, find allies. One driver that's been having a rough night here this evening, that's Christopher Norris in 38. He's been caught up in multiple different incidences. He was caught up in that Ryan Ferraro wreck that caught a couple of drivers off guard. Didn't bring out a yellow, but Norris has had to come into pit road a little bit earlier than some, currently 4 laps down, but is one of the first to come into pit road, so trying to take an advantage, and honestly needs a couple of cautions to get back onto the lead lap if he wants a chance to advance in positionings for himself as he's racing around the likes of Ryan Ferraro, Brandon Colley. I mean, that just those 4 drivers were around one another that brought out a non-caution incident. Here's a couple of other drivers out on course. Here's the 42, Leroy Koblitz, runs in 27th by himself, and you want an idea of what it's like to not have draft help compared to those that do. Leroy's last lap, a 53.9. Our leaders, a 53.5. That is a little bit of a draft assistance. It's a couple of tenths here and there, but they're so massive in the big runs.
Yeah, half a second is still a long time to lose, because in 10 laps of not having any draft help, that's a whole 5 seconds lost from the person in front of you. So, I mean, that is just a prime example of why you need drafting help at this track. And it's just, you can't get caught out alone.
Seeing a few drivers racing against one another. That was going to be seen on screen. That's 77, but it technically is our 75 on our ticker board. That's Gavin Rogers, the Sundance Pizza Machine, trying to find a way to get by Timothy Harper. This is for 10th place, and Harper, got to give kudos as the run has progressed. The 18 has found some new life in the tires, and he's able to power on by Gavin Rogers, who went with an attempt for a pass, got stuck on the inside, and will be losing 2 positions instead of gaining 1.
Yeah, when you got to make a pass here, you got to make sure you make that pass nice, quick, and clean, and get right in front of the person you're passing. Because if you don't, you get stuck on the inside. As we just saw, Gavin just dropping back like a rock. Lost a few positions there, back behind Ryan Kelly again. But Harper still doing a fantastic job, back in the top 10 now. He is doing great on these older tires and some of these drivers he's racing around.
As this run continues on, Harper and Ken Campbell now will be side by side. But ahead of them for battle for the lead position, Douglas Newbigin, Zach Hall, Drew Jua, they have been on top of one another. Drew Jua for the past 3 laps has been trying to find an opportunity to get by Douglas Newbigin. It has not worked out. Instead, Zach Hall will go for an attempt for a pass. Not going to find an opening for himself there. Had to go extremely low. Was hoping side draft wasn't going to hurt him, and it does not. Instead, it's just going to fall in line, stay in 3rd place. It just looks like these drivers stalling out. There's just not enough big enough of a run, and there's not enough drafting assistance to make these passes for the lead position.
Yeah, I think the tires are just kind of starting to plateau for these drivers. So just not being able to have the drafting help to get these passes is just, it's very, very difficult to get a pass done. Got to get that run down the front of straightaway to dive into a turn, but Zach still looking low. Going to get the side draft there onto Drew Jua. He actually might get the pass done. Not able to clear him, it looks like. Oh, now up next to Douglas Newbigin. He's going to make a run for the lead coming down the front stretch here. Looks like Zach Hall will be able to lead that lap, but I don't think he's going to be able to complete the pass.
Big blinking moment there, though, for the 88 of Drew Jua. He is having some massive connection issues, or big blinks all around for a few drivers throughout the service. That was the worry with this amount of drivers out on track of how is the server going to hold up for Drew Jua. Luckily, his connection came back when he gave the big push to Douglas Newbigin to keep the lead position over Zach Hall, because if there wasn't that push, Douglas probably was going to lose that lead position. Instead, showing why it's so nice and kind to have some drafting help up front.
Yeah, I think Drew and all those blinks that he was having, that actually still does affect the draft and how you're pushing another car. So Douglas Newbigin was not getting that arrow push from Drew behind him, which was allowing Zach Hall to still maintain beside him and potentially get the pass. But Dru's connection able to get back stable, getting that push to Douglas Newbigin, keeping him up front as Zach Hall's trying to make another look to the inside to make a pass. And I think this time it looks like he potentially could clear Drew. No! Still side by side. Drew is going to maintain the 2nd place.
And the hard thing that you're trying to do if you're Zach Hall, side draft that 88, pull him back far enough to where if you go for a slide job move, there's enough space to slot in between those Lucky Duck drivers. It's just not the case. Drew Jua is doing a fabulous job staying directly in line with the 7 and not giving any space for Zach Hall. Zach needs to pass 2 drivers at one time if he wants to complete this pass. It looks like this is his best chance to do so. Almost fully clear from the 7 machine as he exits out of turn number 3. Hall to the point, but it's going to be the Lucky Duck drivers attempting to make a pass, sliding up, sliding high. So Hall blocks both decisions, and it's the 1 back to the lead spot.
Impressive move by Zach Hall and showing why he was last year's champion, picking off 2 drivers in 1 turn, teammates at that, and still maintaining down the front stretch to lead the lap, and just throwing the blocks and trying to break that draft away from those 2, trying to get them maybe either side by side. We have caution on the track.
It's going to be seeing the 11 of John Forbes spun around to bring out the caution and throw out any chance of green flag pit stops. It is over and done, as it's going to be trouble for the 11 of John Forbes. Looks like he got a little bit of a bump in assistance from Ollie Fonseca.
Ollie Fonseca giving the good shove last week to Cody Reed. It looked like actually John Forbes was loose before it happened. Let's find out watching the draft here, or the replay here. John Forbes on the inside does get a little loose.
It's going to be coming out of the exit of turn 1 that we're going to see this incident.
One,
So if we stay on slow, it's going to be a while.
It's going to be a long while because that front stretch is a very long straightaway as they get ready to dive into turn 1 here in the replay. Let's see what happens. John Forbes on the outside, not really in front of Ollie Fonseca yet. It
Right
does get
there.
a little bit of a bump right there. That's what kind of sends him a little into a slide and then up into the wall after making contact with the 73.
Yeah, and seeing that slight contact up into the wall, it goes the 11. Hard contact for himself. The 44 of John Ross just nowhere really to go. It's kind of the assistance for Forbes, but sadly for John Forbes, required damage. He will be sent to pit road. And this caution, it now puts us in a spot where it's going to be a race off of pit road to keep that top position. Hall, our pole sitter, wants to keep this top spot, but the last time we had a pit stop situation, it was Douglas Newbegin able to pass Hall as they were exiting out of pit road. Richard, this could be a very important pit stop for Hall, but this is going to be our final pit stop of the night if we stay green from here, but with the way Pocono runs, we might not stay green all the way to the end from this moment.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we stay green the rest of this race, but like you said, last time they raced, it was 8 cautions. That's the record, 8 cautions here. So, I mean, I still feel there might be some more aggression to be had on the track and some, unfortunate moves. So we'll see. But pit stops are happening now. Last time Douglas able to have a phenomenal pit stop to take the lead away from Zach Hall. This is it. This is where you have control of the race, the control of the start, as everyone coming into the pits to get service.
Zach Hall has to make sure he doesn't slide through his box, nor for Douglas Newbegin or Drew Jua. They've had to hit their marks perfectly. For Douglas Newbegin and for Drew, they both hit their marks perfectly. Hall, much cleaner entry than he had the first time. But as the drivers are leaving their box, those left sides are still up. They finally slammed down for Hall, and the race off of pit road. It's going to be close, but it's Zach Hall keeping the top spot with Drew Jewett behind, as well as Douglas Newbegin. The one driver ahead of him, though, Timothy Harper, he pitted earlier under green flag conditions. He will keep that top spot. Almost an identical situation the 18 was in at the end of the stage.
I was just noticing that as we were watching pit stops. Timothy Harper getting that lucky timing there, honestly, is pitting right before that caution comes out and taking advantage of it as it puts him back up into first place with only 4-lap old tires also. So it's just reminiscent to the end of the stage as well. So a great timing by Timothy up in front. Tires are about as equal as the other drivers behind him. So let's see how long he can maintain staying up here in front. He didn't do a terrible job last time, still up in the top 10. So hopefully he can repeat that to the end of this race.
Yeah, I would only think for Timothy Harper is the fact that it worked out for about 3 to 4 laps, and then he fell off. He's going to need a little bit of help here. Maybe a couple of quick cautions, try to let these tires cool down a little bit more. But this 18 is going to be in an interesting position moving forward in this race. Zach Hall also, he's going to be on that front row, and he's got to bank on a good restart for himself to make sure that he doesn't get passed by the likes of Douglas Newbegin or Drew Jua, because it took Hall that whole entire last run to catch the 7 and then pass him. It was until that very last caution that just came out, the timing of it was when Zach Hall finally had the chance to make the pass.
Yeah, that's true. And we also have a few drivers that were a lap down that didn't choose to pit. So that's an interesting call by them, because the 99 of Levi Cox, he's on 14-lap old tires still. So I don't know if he was hoping for all the
he was hoping for wave around.
Yeah, that's what he was hoping for. But still, to not pit when you see a leader out there still, Timothy Harper. That's interesting. I think he either thinks he can make it on fuel or just didn't realize what was going on in front of him.
It's going to be close for Levi Cox to make it to the end of this race. It's going to be very, very close for himself. But, if we get a couple of more cautions, might work out in his favor. The only issue for Levi, he's 11 laps down. So he needed every lap back, if possible, to even have a chance to just be 3 laps down at the end of this race. For the rest of the field, they are stacking up, getting ready to go. We got 30 drivers still on the lead lap, being led by the older tires of Timothy Harper. Everyone else, 4 tires and fuel. They are preparing for this launch. Harper gets started all the way back in 36th position. It's been the pit road gambles that have placed this 18 inside of our top 15 for most of this race. It's going to be a second time being up front on a restart. See if the 18 can get a clean launch here. Again, 4-lap difference, just only 2 green flag laps difference. If you look at true pace that was put on these tires, we'll see what Harper's got. As into pit road goes the pace car, rest of the field stacked 2 by 2 as we are back to green flag racing here tonight at Pocono. It's Harper with a great launch, but it's the battle for second. Will it be Drew Jua or Zach Hall that keeps that second place spot?
Yeah, great launch by Timothy to keep that lead. Looks like he's got Drew Drua to the inside. Drew trying to make a move, but is going to fall back to Zach. As they're side by side now, Drew falling a little bit further back, going to have to fall in line here in front of his teammate Newbigging. But Timothy Harper doing a great job, able to defend his position up there in first with Zach Hall behind him. Let's see if Zach tries to make any move or is just going to wait for those tires to fall off from Timothy, as they are 2 by 2 all the way back from 6th on back to the field.
And you can see the stacked train that's going by, and drivers trying to find openings when they can and where to take the advantage, push forward, take these spots away as your top 3, 4, 5 all in line. Like you said, 6th on back, being led by Nick Crawford and Gavin Rogers. They'll stay side by side as Joshua Kanata is just faltering backwards. Not enough drafting help, but for the lead spot, Zach Hall going to be taking his first attempt at the lead position. Wants that clean air, not able to grab it just yet, as Timothy Harper pinching down, not only enabling the one to make the pass, and actually gives an opening for Drew Jua to take that second place spot, as Hall has to stay high, slots into 3rd. And Drew Jua now in the prime position to take the lead position, as everyone from 11th on back still side by side.
The challenge from Zach Hall for that lead position. Timothy Harper able to defend him from it, drove a little bit harder than him on the outside, got the run. But like I said, it gave room for Drew Jua to follow him through, pushing Zach back to 3rd. That's the downside about trying to pass and not clearing it. But Timothy Harper now trying to break the draft away from Drew Jua, but that might not be a good idea. Might want to get back up there quicker than he thinks. Drew's got a good run still, and they're going to stay single file going to turn 1.
It's Drew Jua going to be going up into that second groove. Thought about almost the 3rd groove to try to get to the outside quarter panel of Harper. Not the case. Off the exit of turn 1, it will close in the gap. And speaking about different gaps to watch out for, a couple of drivers of note. Connor Berry in the 02, 5th place currently. I think he could be a dark horse to watch out as this run continues on, as well as Gavin Rogers, the 75. We know he can be quick in these moments. And as well, driver that's just outside of our top 12 in 13th position, it's Brian P. Johnson. He's had to do a similar run to Drew Jua to march his way through the field up to 13th place. And that's where he runs currently. But as we run up over the 02 of Connor Berry, I'm curious what speed the 02 will have as this run continues on.
Yeah, Connor Berry doing a phenomenal job on his charge from the back of the pack here. In the middle of the pack, he's running really strong here in the 5th position, right behind Newbigging. We'll have to see if he can maintain his tires and keep up with these three guys who have been just phenomenal being able to do that. So, hope this dark horse, Connor Berry, can show us a great show to the end of this race and maybe sneak away another win for this guy.
And now charging to the front, Drew Jua, first attempt to the outside. It's successful to keep the lead for now, but it's Timothy Harper. Contact with the 88, pushes Drew Jua up. Zach Hall's going to take the advantage. Douglas Newbigging, big wiggle. Now going to be buried to the inside for that 4th place position, as Harper using a little bit of elbows there to keep that lead position away from Drew Jua. Jua has to fall back to 2nd place. Fighting back Zach Hall to Connor Berry. Saw a weakness from the 7, and Hall, similar to the move that he had to make to take the lead position before last caution, almost had to go for a 2-for-1 special, but instead, not enough draft help. They're falling back, and now it's Lucky Ducks that are going to be in line on the outside.
Yeah, Zach Hall trying to make those passes on the inside. Very little help is falling back, but also in turn one, I don't think Drew appreciated the use up of Timothy Harper, gave him a little bit of a touch in the middle of the turn. So Zach Hall finally able to slot back in, back there in fourth place behind Newbigging. But Connor Berry has dropped down a few positions as Gavin Rogers is starting to make an appearance up here in the top 5.
Gavin Rogers was settling behind, looking for chances to go forward, and with all the attempts to go to the inside that have failed, it's given chances for positions. That's why Berry fell, and on Berry! Berry gets spun around as the field comes to a halt on the outside of turn number 1. And another caution late with 25 laps to go here this evening.
It just looked like just a whole bunch of checkups and just a not square push to the rear bumper sent Connor Berry up to that outside wall, and Ken Campbell just, nowhere to go, just kind of turned him all the way around, which caused the caution to come out. Unfortunate to see, Connor Berry doing a phenomenal job being the dark horse here, making his way up through the field, and that could potentially kill a strong run for Connor.
Well, Richard, I know this is only your second time in the booth with us here on Free Fast Broadcast. You've watched plenty of our broadcasts. This is what we call a commentator's curse. Connor, I am so sorry. Praising you, was hoping for a good run at the end, but it's caught up just with a bump here, bump there. Wrong place, wrong time. Don't want to give a bump on that quarter panel. Ken Campbell on the 0-2 goes spinning around. And luckily for the rest of the field, no one else clobbering into this incident. Plenty of space and time to avoid both drivers, and we'll take the fact that it was only a 2-car incident when it could have been plenty more.
Yeah, I might be the first time, first season up here in the booth and only my second race, but I think I have fallen actually to your commentator curse last season, Sam. So yeah, as soon as that happened, I was like, well, there it is. There's the first one for the season. So Connor, unfortunate to see, man. That's not what, we never hope for that to ever happen, but hope, unfortunate situation. Hope we can get some damage fixed and he can still make a strong charge up through the field to get a decent finish for himself.
We will be hoping for that. Luckily, no required damage, so just going to have optional to work with. As for us, though, coming up to 25 laps to go, it is one of those races where we know it's going to get chaotic. We will take a quick commercial break. When we come back, more Pocono action. Who will win the second race of the season? We'll find out right after this with more Pocono action.
5 wide behind for fifth.
Oh my, the 5 wide here. This ain't gonna work. They make it last. Bumping and banging to the end. They're beating banging for the lead. Sora still with the shot here. Coming off a 4. Look at it. That's it.
It's bottom line. Here it comes.
Oh, no, Carter gets wrecked. It's going to be that Nick Crawford. The 74 gets through somehow, and they just completely demolish one another. Trinity diving down low, drifting up, trying to be the stealer. Here he comes. Cedric Hunter. He does it. He steals it.
But he somehow drove it into the corner to wreck him.
Oh, they wrecked. They wrecked each other. The top two bounced into one another. Just too much of side drifting off of, and they got to be careful. Oh no, and the 4 demolishes into 28. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ourselves prepared to get back to racing action. 21 laps to go, and it's Timothy Harper, Drew Jua going to be your front runners as green flag is out. The 18 gets good launch, but it's Drew Jua trying to cut off the one on the outside, able to do so as everyone fanning out further on back for some big position gains, but for the top spot, it's the old tires versus the new. Harper still able to hold on for this top spot. The question is, who will survive the madness of everyone trying to take this second place position for an attempt to go for the lead?
Yeah, Timothy Harper doing a fantastic job maintaining the lead on older tires, and they are 2 wide as Gavin Rogers now got his name up there in the top 5. Lucky Ducks have been separated by Zach Hall and Gavin. Zach Hall leading that inside line, but I think Gavin's got the preferred, gets able to let in Zach Hall, and Newbigging falling in behind Gavin as well as they dive into turn 3.
Go down in turn number 3, the much lower banked course of all of them, mimicked off of the Milwaukee Mile, only 6 degrees of banking, but it gives us all the action for this massive straightaway, all of the weaving back and forth, what we call snaking action as Harper holds back Drew Jua, but looking at Gavin Rogers, he's got some sneaky speed, also sneaking their way in, Shintarian, as well as Brian Kelly in 7th and 8th. Brian P. Johnson is finally back in the top 10. Same for Larry Yingling. It just looks like the cream's starting to rise to the top as we go further and further into this run. As we're coming up to 20 laps to go, it is still anyone's game to take this win. Also of note to watch out for, Ross Tatum. He might be back in 18th place, but a driver to watch out on that ticker board. If he starts moving forward, he's one of those drivers that took a set of tires under this last caution. He's going to be trying to make that charge forward.
Yeah, like you said, the cream of the crop has definitely reached their way to the front here. The drivers we kind of expected to see up front have made it there, as we're all still just kind of lining up, taking it easy, but everyone's going to try to make their moves where they can. But yeah, we're going to see what these drivers like Ross Tatum that's hit for tires there under that last caution. We'll see if that, 9-lap difference can make a difference. And Ross moving his way up through the field little by little, so that might be a difference. If this race goes green the rest of the time, that could be the difference on whether or not he wins the race or how far he can get.
We got to go back out front. Drew Jua entering the turn tunnel. We saw the same corner pass made multiple times, and Drew now to the top spot. Other drivers muscling their way forward. Nick Crawford pushing Douglas Newbigging up, pushing to that 7 outside of the top 10. The 74 and the 7 got to be careful off the exit of turn number 3, but it's all Drew Jua pulling away at this time. But Gavin Rogers now going to be the new head runner trying to run down that 88.
Yeah, Timothy Harper unable to keep Drew Jua behind him. Drew Jua with a massive lead there. Gavin Rogers now taking 3rd spot away from Zach Hall. And Shane Tarian has got his name up there now as he's challenging Zach Hall for the position.
The controller wizard of gonna be Shane Tarian, one of the very few controller drivers on the iRacing service, and the 9 machine makes it look easy at times, attempted to go for that 3rd place and 4th place position, but the outside group 2 in line, but a hard contact can be made by Brian P. Johnson as well as Douglas Newbigging into the outside wall, gives a chance for Shane Tarian to try to slot his way in between, but they just have too much exit speed. The 9 faltering, but multiple drivers starting to brush that outside wall each and every corner. I mean, this is getting to that point, Richard, where who's going to have a right side left on their vehicle at the end of the day?
I think every single one of these drivers are painting their name on outside of turn 3 there. but Shane Terrian is able to get some drafting help from Brian P. Johnson, who has recovered from his EOL to start this race off. Up here with his name for a potential win also, as they're all slotting back in, and Douglas Newbigging seems to be faltering a little bit as he's fallen back all the way back to 7th place now.
To 7th. Douglas Newbigging just has not been able to find a footing to go forward. He just continues to drop backwards. But up front, still Drew Jua with the top spot. Timothy Harper keeping it close for now. Gavin Rogers, Zach Hall, as well as Nick Crawford seem to be pacing themselves, recognizing the scenario they're in. You can go for a major pass now. You could be the sitting duck leader in the run. Tires are going to be so critical in those final 8 to 5 laps. So everyone in line trying to salvage what they can. The big thing is you cannot allow, if you're Rogers or Hall, for Timothy Harper to hold you back. You have to stay in reaching distance to Drew Jua if you want to catch him. Drew, on the other hand, is trying to figure out how to just pull away and hold back the rest of the crew.
Yeah, but those passes they have to make it quick. They have to make it clean. They can't go side by side with Timothy out of the turn. That pass has to be made in the turn with clearing them out. So got to get in front of him out of the turn and get right in front, because if you don't, you're just going to leave that position open for the guy behind you, and you're just going to fall like a rock. So it's all about timing, whether you got the momentum to be able to make that pass. So it's just a matter of time when they know they can make that pass or not. But even though we've got 16 laps to go, it might not seem like a lot, but this track is also 2 miles long. It's taken them about a minute to get around, so that's still quite a bit of racing to go. They still have a decent amount of time, but those laps are still going to tick by and count down really quick.
Especially if we get a caution, that's going to take away at least 3 to 4 laps. These drivers do not want to lose. They want every lap possible for an attempt to go for a pass, as Gavin Rogers looks to be setting up a run to get by Timothy Harper. The question is, how much assistance will Gavin Rogers be given? Again, Gavin Rogers, 3rd car in line, 77 on the car, 75 on our ticker. As Gavin Rogers and Hall, will they work as one to get by this 18, or do you just follow and hope that Timothy Harper can guide you to catch up to Drew Jua? Jua stays low, everyone else staying in line, and this is the attempt for Gavin Rogers to go for 2nd place. Harper, small contact into that 77 machine, as Hall will follow in suit, but Drew Jua just looked like he was going back and forth so much, lost so much momentum, backs off, holds up Rogers. Harper doesn't want to give up 2nd, the 18, with a strong run off of 1.
Wow, Gavin Rogers able to make the pass coming out of 1, but Harper, phenomenal momentum
Caution.
coming out of this. Caution's on the track.
Trouble further on back, basically racing for last, and it's Connor Berry and Levi Cox getting into one another as they were exiting out of turn number 1. And with 15 laps to go, the field's got a hard decision. Do you pit for tires or not? But first, here's the replay of what brought out this caution. Just exiting the corner, Connor Berry just body slamming the 99 off the exit of the corner. Could not make the corner at all, and with oncoming traffic being 2 sideways, that's what brought out our caution.
Yeah, unfortunate for Connor getting involved in a wreck earlier, or last caution. You know, having a really strong run and now just getting involved with some of the lap traffic. Not just unable to clear that turn and do it smoothly. Just gets up into the 99. They both get up into the wall, get sideways, and that's what brings out the caution. Unfortunate moment for Connor.
And looking at the way that those drivers were running, Harper and Rogers, I mean, I think they were about to come to blows on track with the way that they were slicing and dicing back and forth. Timothy Harper, I think he's willing to use up another driver if he's got a chance to keep that position. The question is, would any other driver be willing to risk that same risk and reward token for themselves? Because you easily can throw away your race if you give someone a bad bump on the side, but at the same notion, you can be rewarded with a great pass that can make you a chance to go for this lead spot. Curious on what the aggression level will be here moving forward, but also, Richard, the tough question, the tough ask. Do you pit for the final time here tonight for tires? Because this is most likely the last time you're going to pit.
Right now, I think track position is definitely far more important. It's a really hard decision because I don't know exactly what the fall off is, but it looks like Timothy Harper is going to lead quite a few drivers down to pit road. No,
Oh,
a lot
no.
of fakes happening. Newbegin going to come in, though. First driver from high up going to take pits. Huge fake of going into the pits. But, yeah, top 10-ish. Looks like they're going to be staying out. The great split of the field. This is where we're going to see our 20-lap old tires that much slower than fresh. This is where excitement is going to happen.
If you had a real-life spotter, this is where you make the big bucks of if you stay out or if you come in to get tires. And being led by Douglas Newbegin, I think that's no surprise for Newbegin. He was falling off and really wasn't finding any space to gain ground. He needed an advantage to take these positions away. I love the call by the 7. The only problem, he's going to be back all the way in 17th position, as when we go green, it's going to be around 11 to 10 laps to go. You're going to need a Herculean type of moves to go forward in this charge, because passes, we've seen it all night. It is difficult to go forward in a short duration amount of time.
It is very difficult. That's where the hard decision was coming. Like I was saying, track position, I think here at Pocono is definitely king when it comes to tires or positions. So, but I mean, Douglas Newbegin, he was just falling back. He was really off the pace. He needed something to work for him. So why not gamble, take the tires and try to make the moves? I mean, he's got the speed to do it. He's got the pace to do it. I think he's got a lot of faith in himself and a lot of faith in his car that those tires are going to be trump over any of those older ones.
As the field, it's going to be top 16 that are going to be the drivers on older tires. Slight advantage goes to Ken Campbell, Chad Wilkes, as well as Cody Reed, but they also were dealing with some slight damage for themselves. 17th place is where we find Drew Jua, Chris Ditz, GT Rosario, Ross Tatum, John Ross, and many of others that came into pit road. The one driver note that pitted is Douglas Newbegin. He's the one driver that's been inside of our top 10 all night long, and he has been there. He has looked strong, but now is the question, will he have the help? Because that's been the big trouble I've seen through the corners. Tires are massive, but Richard, it's finding anyone willing to draft with you on the straightaways that really will enhance these tires the most.
Yeah, he's got to have some. They got to have some friends back there that are willing to work with them, because like we were saying earlier, you got to make these passes quick. Because if you get stuck on that inside, even with new tires, that draft is going to triumph over your newer tires. So I hope you got some friends back there, because you're going to need them now, if anything, to try to get your way back up front.
As we are coming out to the final stages of tonight's race, it's going to be new tires first hold, but we want to say thank you again to our amazing sponsors that help out here in the WSSR Cup Series. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to GTR Simulators. GTR Simulators is a great place to go if you're looking to have a racing rig that is easy to find, as well affordable to be used. GTR Simulators has partnered up with the F1 team of State F1 Team Kick Sauber to have themselves a special edition GTA Compact V2 Kick Sauber foldable racing simulator. It is all legal product from the Sauber Motorsports AG team. And if you'd like to go get yourself that foldable compact F1 style schemed for yourself, well, head on over again to gtrsimulator.com and use the promo code WSSR for 10% off. Again, that's WSSR for 10% off at gtrsimulators.com. As well, thank you to TrophySmack.com. Go head over there, use the promo code WSSR SMACK for 10% off. As the drivers are close to 10 to go, it's Drew Jua, Timothy Harper. Will they be able to hold off those back in 17th and 18th place? Or is it only a duel of those up front now? It's time to find out. Top two going to be in line. It's side by side for third place on back. And Richard, here we go. It's time for the fun here at Pocono.
This is where the sparks are going to fly. And as we saw it earlier, Timothy Harper is not afraid to lean on other drivers, which is how he was able to get back by around Gavin Rogers. But Gavin on the inside there, that outside has got a little bit more momentum, but Gavin's doing a good job maintaining right there next to Shane Therian. He's going to try to get underneath Zach, not able to. Going to try to clear Shane, not able to either. But Drew Jua out front is just a massive gap behind to Timothy Harper.
Great run for himself as we go through this first initial lap. It is still Drew Jua in a confident, commanding position at this moment. Timothy Harper racing like he's in the lead right now, trying to keep this position the best that he can. Zach Hall, Shane Tarian, as well as Kevin Rogers, Ryan Kelly, all in line, trying to make their way go forward. One driver that wishes he could go forward, but actually has gone backwards after one lap. Douglas Newbigging, he has fallen back to 18th place, the new driver leading the charge with fresh rubber, given to the 17 of Chris Stitz in 16th place.
Chris Stitz doing a fantastic job back there. The newest tires there, the highest up with the newest tires, and Newbigging just trying to get into some kind of rhythm so he can make a charge up front, but he is just getting challenged left and right as they are too wide behind him and too wide in front of him. Hopefully he can get in line here and get some good drafting help from Chris Stitz, but he's just seems to be struggling a little bit trying to get into a rhythm.
I mean, there's no spacing. The tires aren't worn enough, it may be, but it is just not working out. You can see all the drivers scattering. Once one hits the wall, everyone accordion effect to get around. Speaking about getting around, Timothy Harper in trouble getting around as Zach Hall with the diving move into turn number 1 for the second place position. 18 not giving up right to the quarter panel with a huge pinch off at 1. It works out. They stay side by side, but they're losing ground to Drew Jua in the 88, who just looks perfect at this moment. Timothy Harper being the best blocker that this 88 can look for.
Timothy Harper's doing a fantastic job playing defense for his position. He's just able to keep the drivers low, not letting them run up the track and get the run, but Gavin's going to try and give Zach a shove. Nope, he's going to go right back up behind Timothy Harper, trying to take that outside line to get a run down the front stretch. But Zach looks like he's going to be able to clear Timothy Harper, but is he going to have the momentum? He looks low. A great block by Zach. He's going to have to fall back behind. Not enough momentum, but they are pushing each other down the front stretch to try to make a run towards Drew.
With that pass, lost to 2/10, but with the bump, gains a 10th back. A huge pass by Zach Hall, and now the mindset of I have to run down this 88 machine. It's a half-second difference as they cross the line with 8 laps to go. Fresh rubber is on the charge, but they're still back in 15th and 16th place. Douglas Newbigging is finally able to get by Chris Stitz and is finally starting to show signs of movement, but it looks to be like the gap is just too large, and there's again the big trouble of no draft assistance for the 7th machine. He might have 20 lap advantage on tires, but draft help on these straightaways is king right now at Pocono.
Yeah, it's sad to see Newbigging, the first driver to take new tires, and just unable to get the moves forward. He is making a little bit of passes here and there, but just not enough speed. I don't think he's going to be a contender for a win. He might be able to squeak into the top 10. That's a possibility. But there he is running back in the 14th position. Still not bad. Challenging for that 13th from Cody Reed, our last week's winner. But might have gotten a little bit of help from Chris Stitz, but that outside line has just got the momentum out of the turns. If you can't make that pass, it is so hard to be able to beat them down the straightaway.
But Richard, top right when Zach Hall crossed the line, fastest lap of the whole entire race on 26 lap old tires. Hall just put down the fastest lap. It was a 52.684 second time. That is 2/10 faster than anyone that's in our top spots. Best laps of the race. Hall is matching and trying to put down burner after burner to catch up the 88. Now the question is, does he have the speed to contact and go catch up? Or will we have a caution? Cody Reed is spun out on the front stretch. We will have a yellow and a light race restart.
Unfortunate. Zach Hall is definitely throwing down qualifying laps. Did not want to see that caution come out because he was chasing down Drew. Unfortunate situation in the back there with Cody Reed spinning off spinning on the front there. That's right by Douglas Newbigging. Just a bad push trying to get up in the hole.
And he was loose and finishing low by the 7. It looked like Cody Reed trying to keep his foot in the throttle to stay ahead of Douglas Newbigging. If you take another look, maybe from the aerial view, you can see the fact that 25 was trying to hold back Douglas Newbigging here. And he's trying to get back into the throttle down low, old tires. It's very tough to do, and just a slight wiggle there, and then there's the contact by Douglas Newbigging. Cody Reed, very lucky not to hit those water barrels, though.
Yeah, he didn't hit those water barrels. That would have been the end of his night, literally, because that would have been required damage. But yeah, just a little bit of loose coming out of the turn. That's expected out of turn 3, especially on older tires. And just Newbiggie nowhere to kind of go, had the momentum, just a little bit of tap, just kind of finished off Reed. Not really any damage either. He's the only car involved. So honestly, probably the least exciting accident we've had tonight, to be honest.
I mean, it's thrilling when riding on board with that 25 right there. A winner from last week. Big scare, big save. And Cody Reed will race for another few laps. The question now looms. The caution flag came out with 6 to go. When we're at any other track, our traditional 1.5 miles, 1 mile courses, I would automatically throw my hands up in the air and say we're going to overtime. It's going to be very close. But with us being at a bigger track, a 2 mile course, it is one of those racetracks where they try to speed up, trying to get back to green flag racing. We could be, instead of a regulation, green, white, checkered. We're going to have to wait and see how these pace laps turn around. If we will be going straight to overtime or if we will stay here inside of regulation. It's one of those oddball situations, Richard, that's always tough on a driver of, are we in overtime yet or are we not?
I mean, honestly, the only thing that really matters at this point is just whether we have 4 green, white, checkered attempts or 3. So inside regulation is always great to see, but I mean, overtime has added a great bit of excitement to the end of these races because we want to make sure that these drivers finish under green flag conditions. You hate seeing races finish under yellow, but I mean, Zach, I probably was not hoping for that caution to come out. He was running phenomenal pace and laps on old tires, running the fastest lap of the race, trying to chase down Drew, and he definitely was within arm reach of Drew in that leading position.
He definitely was, and I think this is going to be our perfect time to try to chat with some of those drivers up front, get a feel of how they are feeling after an incredible start. Let's start off with our stage winner, being Zach Hall in the 1 machine. Let's see if we can cue him up, get a sense of how Hall is feeling for the upcoming restart. Zach Hall, it's Sam and Richard up the booth. You won the stage. You're now in second for this upcoming restart. How are you feeling with the timing of that yellow and being in the position you're in?
Pretty good. I mean, I didn't want the yellow. I wanted it to kind of play out there. I was going to get the Drew there. And I mean, I don't know if I was going to get by him. It's so tough to pass like the leader and kind of do things like that. So I didn't know if I was going to be able to get by him, but I think that kind of hurt me a little bit here having this restart because I don't know what lane he's going to take exactly here. But whatever happens here with this pick will really decide a lot of what I do. So I feel confident at the end of the day because, I mean, the speed I think has been actually really, really good, especially the longer we go. It seems like I can keep the right rear underneath me. So seems like he's taking the top. So we're starting on the bottom, and we'll see how this goes. Definitely don't want to be down here, but we'll take it.
Yeah, you got Timothy Harper also sitting behind you. He has obviously showed that he is not afraid to show some elbow with a little bit of fender touches between you and Gavin we've seen. Or, who are you expecting to work with near the end of this race? And, who do you think's going to help you out?
Well, I got to give Gavin a huge credit. He's been giving me some good shoves. So if I can get hooked up with him, that'd be nice. But, of course, he's going to be on the outside here with Drew. So that's going to give Drew a good pushing part. I mean, 18's a new guy. He's raced really good up here. Of course, he's got his elbows out for sure. We've seen that. So we'll see how he pushes here. I mean, hopefully he can give me a big push. Hopefully he doesn't stay too much inside and go 3 wide. But, I mean, hey, it's racing at the end of the day. You got to be ready for every single maneuver out there. So, Pocono, we'll see how it fans out when we get down here to 1. I'm sure people are going to be, so to say, losing their minds trying to get any spot they can.
Absolutely. Well, Zach, we'll send you back to your team. Good luck on this restart. Hopefully we talk to you at the end of the night.
Thanks, guys.
As that will be Zach Hall in the 1 machine from Snowy Desert Racing, winner of our stage, pole sitter. And here tonight, Richard, what we were hoping for, it's an inside the regulation, green, white, checker. It's going to be simple. It's going to be 2 laps when we go green. If we take the white flag to get to the last lap, without any caution flag being thrown, this race will become official. It's all about who takes the checkered after that. But if we get a caution in this first lap when we go green, we will head into overtime where we have 3 overtime attempts waiting for us if they need to be used. But first, it's going to be Drew Jua, Zach Hall up front with Gavin Rogers on the outside in row number 2, Timothy Harper on the inside of row number 2. Richard, any final thoughts before we get ready to take off here what potentially is our last restart of the night?
Buckle in, boys. Grip those wheels. This is going to be a wild ride for a natural green-white checkered within regulation. I think no driver is going to hold anything back. The elbows are sharp. They're ready to shove their way up front. I'm excited to see what these drivers can do and give us this last bit of excitement, last bit of fireworks for this end of this race.
Are we going to keep it clean, or do we just ruffle some feathers? It's time to find out. Drew Jua had to work his way all the way through the field to be in this position to lead this restart. Zach Hall took the pole and is hoping to be the driver that enters into victory lane for the first time this season. Green flag is out. First attempt. Here we go. Do we need overtime, or do we finish this race in regulation? Drew Jua with the best launch you could ask for. Gavin Rogers, Zach Hall going to be side by side into turn number 1. But Hall, huge type ball move. But watch out for the momentum. Will he get the push or get passed off the exit?
Looks like he's going to put himself up in front of Gavin Rogers, trying to break Gavin Rogers' momentum. Gavin, instead of going low, decides to just push Zach Hall because they need to work together. They need to catch Drew Jua as they come around the tunnel turn of turn 2 here. Still pretty far ways back, but great momentum coming in, especially from that push from Gavin. Zach Hall closing a little bit of gap into Drew as they dive into turn 3. As let's see if we can make it across the rest of this turn and front stretch to take the white flag, because this race will be official if they can catch this flag. Unless a wreck happens, they're fanning out on the back of, or the front stretch out of turn. But there's the white flag. This race is official.
Officially out. It's Timothy Harper and Nick Crawford to get into one another. Hard push out for the 18. He will drop quickly outside of the top 20. But up front, it's Drew Jua, Zach Hall, Gavin Rogers, your top 3. The big run should be going to Gavin Rogers on the straightaway for the 77. Hall trying to follow Drew Jua as much as he can. It's going to have to be a little bit of teamwork, a little bit of friendly action. Every finish at Pocono in the past year has been within 2/10. They're within 3. Rogers, though, wants to take second, has to get back in line, but it's Drew Jua in the 88 machine. No threat around. Gonna be one of the biggest finishes in gap-wise from first to second. Hall gave it his all, but it wasn't enough. Drew Jua fought from the back to the front, and victory lane calls for the 88 machine.
Drew Jua doing a phenomenal job tonight, coming from the back of the field, working his way up through traffic and taking the win. Not just a class of his own at the end of this race. They could not catch him. Gavin trying to give a nice little congratulatory. He's probably spun him out a little bit. But exciting racing, especially for Drew. Fantastic win. Congratulations to him. I don't even know what's going on right now.
And there were wrecks coming on to the front stretch further on back. Drew Jua was giving some bumps from Gavin Rogers. Looks like 88 is finally able to take off and go. As Lucky Duck drivers trying to get around this 88 and give him some congratulational bumps. And it's all Drew Jua. What a run. I mean, it was incredible just to watch the charge, the aggressive moves that we saw in the first stage to get Drew Jua inside of the top 10 to even get stage points, let alone the fact that he got up front. Once he took the lead, there was no one touching this 88. It's Drew Jua with his first win of the season, and honestly, might be a sign of many more to come for this 88 machine that we knew was going to be strong last season. Had a lot of unfortunate luck early on, but this is the start you're looking for to go for a championship campaign.
Yeah, that is a great start, in race number 2 of the season. And I hope this is a great preview to what we see from this guy. Being able, like at Pocono of any track, to be able to come from the very back like he did, work his way up through the field, out of trouble, staying away from the wrecks, and just be in a class of his own once he grabbed the lead, just able to pull away from Zach Hall and Gavin Rogers and everybody else. Just a phenomenal, dominating win coming from Drew Jua tonight.
Absolutely incredible. And for us, we will step away. As we come back, we'll talk to our winner of Drew Jua. Second place is Zach Hall. Third place to Gavin Rogers, and a spotlight driver right after this. As we come back, it's the post-race show for Pocono here tonight. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show of the second race of the season for the WSSR Cup Series. Tonight, we got to see the tricky triangle of Pocono be raced on course, and we head to Victory Lane to talk to the 88 machine of Drew Jua. We might be pulling him away from it, talking to people, but into Victory Lane, we find the 88 machine. Drew, I mean, you had probably one of the most amazing drives of the night from the back to the front to Victory Lane. How are you feeling after that incredible charge to take the win here this evening?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. That was a fun race, I can't lie. We had some internet issues at the start of the race, so I made the conscious decision to start from the back, and it kind of subsided as soon as we went green, and I was able to drive all the way up to 10th there at the end of the stage, and we were really good on the long run. I was just helping Doug there that second run after the stage, so it's just about defending our position and just trying to hold the high side. I knew that Zach was really good on the long run, and he's super fast. I was really just trying to help Timmy behind me to stay side by side, or at least in front of Zachary, because he was really fast. So it was a lot of fun. Got a little bit of fighting words for Mr. Gavin Rogers for dooring me after the checker. Nah, I'm just kidding. It was all in good fun. Nice to get our first win of the season after some bad internet issues last week.
Yeah, we noticed some connection issues when you were up there with Douglas Newbigging, later in the race. But after Doug had his issues there, were you a little worried about how you'd compete with everybody up front?
Yeah, it was really just me, Zachary Hall, and Gavin Rogers. Once Doug finished, kind of slided down the field because he had a couple issues. He was really loose on corner exit, so it was just about kind of racing hard, but not really rubbing any fenders, and just keeping us in that top 5 position. And we got around Timothy, and it was kind of just try and get away. And then once Zachary Hall got around, it was like, okay, this is go mode. So he was going to get to me if we didn't get that yellow. I was just going to kind of define top like I'd been doing all race, but we got the yellow that we kind of needed. I was a little unsure of what would happen on that restart, but we were able to get far enough away and to where he couldn't really make a move on me, and that's all I was really looking for. So like I said, it was a super fun race, especially coming from the back, and looking forward to Auto Club, which is kind of a similar track next week.
I mean, Drew, we look back to last season. The start of the season really was rough on you, being caught up in a lot of incidences that just gave you poor finishes, but you came back to make the playoffs. How important was it entering this season, knowing that you wanted to start on the right foot?
Yeah, it was. It's a new number, I guess. Same team, so it's nothing really new. But we had some bad luck last year at the start of the season. Atlanta, we lagged out. It looked like it was going to be the same this year, so it was just trying to keep our car clean, and we were able to do that, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, it was an amazing run to watch here tonight, Drew. Congratulations on the win. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, shout out to Doug for racing me super clean. Same with Zach Hall and everybody. Shout out to Lucky Ducks, and shout out to Meals for Wheels, and especially shout out to John Peel for bringing me back on for a second season.
Well, that will be the 88 machine of Drew Jua. Drew, enjoy this win, and cannot wait to see how many more you grab throughout this season. Enjoy it, and good luck next week at Auto Club.
All right, thank you guys. Have a good night.
You too. That's going to be your winner here this evening as he fall down to second place to bring in Zach Hall, who was our stage winner, pole sitter, and ultimately comes away with second. I mean, Zach, not a bad day, I would say, after coming off of last week.
Oh, no doubt. It was a excellent day. I was not expecting this. I was telling all my friends and family members, like, top 15 tonight, top 10, we're going to be really excited. And when I put it on poll, I was like, this shouldn't happen. And then through the first stage, I was like, man, I actually feel really comfortable up here. So it kind of built the confidence, I guess, level you could say. And from there, it just was staying up front and staying in the mix. I kind of messed up that final lap. I did a good lap before it, like the lap leading up to the white flag. But that white flag lap, I tried to get everything out of one, and just a little too much. I had to pedal it, and when I lost that speed down the back straightaway, I tried to get even more into the tunnel turn, and had to pedal it again. And then I'm like already fighting for second with Gavin. So good win to Drew, but man, nonetheless, second stage win, 2 playoff points stick out here. I really cannot complain about the night.
Yeah, phenomenal run. Starting from the front, pole position, still finishing second place. I mean, you were dominating pretty much the entire race. Were you a little worried that you might have lost that position from Gavin on that last Hail Mary going to turn one on that restart?
Yeah, I was thinking like, man, when we were side by side like that, I was like, I'm kind of done for right now. So I just drove it in. I was like, just make sure you drive it in, at least make it stick to the bottom. And if you're clear, then you can let the wheel out and let the brake off. And I cleared, did it. And I was so surprised that I even had some semblance of a run up off the corner. And luckily Gavin kind of think he played a little nice with me and didn't just jump to the inside. Knew that if he did that, it would ruin any chance of us fighting for a win. So he kind of just pushed me down the back straightaway. So yeah, it was close, and especially on I had to throw a little block on through the final corner there in the 3, not to give him that inside. And good racing with Gavin as always. Me and him always very close, rubbing doors, but nothing too dirty with each other. So it's always fun racing with Gav.
I mean, Zach, you're part of the admin team that kind of helped build this schedule out that we're going to be racing. We're heading to Auto Club for Thanksgiving break, and then we're got Atlanta 08 Nashville Super Speedway, and then we're at the Red Bull Ring before our ultimately holiday break. What is it like having a schedule like this, knowing that we've got such a diversity of tracks, and we're going to Atlanta for both configurations?
I'm excited, man. I know the first race didn't put out well for me with Atlanta, but I mean, anything can happen to those races, of course. People know how that is. Didn't expect tonight to go well for me. I kind of expected that third race, Auto Club, to be where my season would start, really, and be like, okay, this is where we start building our momentum for another run at it. And it's just good to get the momentum tonight, so we can go into some of my best tracks. Auto Club, definitely one of my better tracks on the list, especially with it being a daytime race. I think we're actually going to have one heck of a race next week. So if anybody's out there tuning in and you like tonight, make sure you tune in next week, because we're going to be able to run everywhere on that track during the daytime. So it's going to be really fun to see how that all plays out. Then, of course, Atlanta after the Thanksgiving break, I'm probably my favorite track on the service. So we'll go there and try to go get a victory, of course. And then the Red Bull Ring, I never ran a lap on it in iRacing because I don't own it, but a track I've ran a lot of laps at in other games, such as like F1 and, the other video games out there. And definitely a track I enjoy. So I'm excited. I'm a good road course racer, but we got some really good guys in here. So just go there with the expectation of have a great run. So I think these next 3 weeks will really set me up for a good regular season start.
Can't wait for it. Well, Zach, before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, first off, shout out to you guys up in the booth, Richard, Sam, Robert. All you guys do an excellent job each week. I really enjoyed going back and watching last week. Richard, you did an excellent job, so man, shout out to you, of course, with your first time. I'm sure each and every week it's going to be another step up. So thank you for coming up here and really helping everybody out here by taking on that role here for this season. Also, shout out to my teammates, of course, at Snowy Desert Racing. All of them are amazing. We got Brandon Colley in our voice room tonight. He got back out there and he was beating and banging off the wall, so he was having fun. I'm sure he was laughing around. So good to have him back with the league. And of course, all the racers out there, everybody who tunes in, our sponsors, TrophySmack.com and GTRSimulator.com. Make sure you go check out both of those products. They have some amazing things out there for you to add to your collection, so to say. So thank you, everybody tuned in. Also, shout out to Caitlin, and we'll catch them next week in an Auto Club.
Can't wait for it, Zach. Enjoy this second place finish here tonight, and good luck next week.
Thank you, everybody.
As we move from second place, we go down to third. We get to talk to another driver, we could say, that really made his mark here, slowly, methodically moving forward. At one moment, could have been a threat to win here tonight. We've got Gavin Rogers with us. Gavin and Sam and Richard up in the booth. Congratulations on third. Man, how are you feeling after your performance to come up and even have a chance to fight for that win?
I'm feeling like my good old buddy Adam Buzzio. Another third place finish, forever third. I'm not going to complain about it. Hopefully I can get a couple wins, but I'll take as many third place finishes as I can get. I like to keep that consistency going. But tonight I didn't really have great expectations going in. I didn't really have much practice, and I don't have very much experience at this track. It's definitely a tricky track. They call it Tricky Triangle for a reason. But I enjoyed the race. Obviously, it was very draft heavy. You always wanted to be in the draft, and if you got on the inside, it was really risky because you could have gotten trained by a bunch of cars, which unfortunately happened to me quite a few times. And I learned from those mistakes and try to just get up top and wait for mistakes to happen. And I was able to move my way forward and fortunately get a top three. I got lucky getting that fourth position for that final restart. Just wish I had a better turns one, I guess, and get past Zach. But unfortunately, wasn't able to do that. But obviously, top three, I'll take it.
Yeah, Gavin, you did a really good job tonight working your way up through the field. A little slower than some of the other ones we saw, like Drew Jua coming from the very back. But what was it like driving through the field and gaining the positions you needed to gain to get up here to the front?
It was a blast. I really enjoyed it. At the very beginning, I was actually able to gain quite a few spots and make some moves. People were a little bit kind of everywhere, to be honest, and I was able to get to the inside and make moves without getting trained. And unfortunately, kind of after all that, everybody kind of figured it out and got into a rhythm and figured to kind of protect that higher line and get in a group. But I had fun. I told my buddy Jared like I'm having a blast, and then a few laps later when everybody figured out, I'm like, darn, this kind of sucks. Until I was able to get to the outside, then I was kind of happy about it. But yeah, it's a fun track. I know we were gonna run the legacy track. Thank goodness we didn't, because I have zero experience at that one. I have very little experience here, so fortunately, we were able to do that and obviously get a good finish.
I mean, Gavin, it's still the start of the season, and like I said, finishing third 2 weeks in a row is not a bad start at all. Now, what is your ultimate goals, though, throughout this regular season to prep yourself for the playoffs? I know you're going to be trying to make, but what are the goals throughout this regular season you're trying to hit?
Kind of similar to what I did last season. I feel like I had the most bonus points, whether that was a pole or a stage win or even a win. Obviously, I feel like I've been pretty consistent with that. There's obviously been a lot of incidents that I've gotten caught up in last season, and I just need to kind of clean that up and kind of show what I should have had. And hopefully, this season I can do that. Obviously, off to a way better start than I was last season. Hopefully, I don't know if I'll be. I don't think I'll be. I might be first in points. I don't know where I'll be, but I'll be pretty close up there, especially back-to-back top threes. But going into next week, Auto Club is another really fun track for me. I think that might be my favorite oval track in the sim. It's very multi-groove, very fast. A lot of moves you can make there. I've always enjoyed that track, so I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully we can get a good regular season going.
I'm excited for next week as well, Gavin. I think it's going to put on a great show. But before we let you go tonight, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, first off, just want to shout out Jujua. He pulled off a great win tonight. I think he said he started from the back. Unfortunately, he was lagging at the beginning. Fortunately for him, he was able to get that figured out and seemed pretty clean throughout the rest of the race and pulled off a win. Pretty impressive. Also want to shout out my buddy Jared. I know he got caught up in that first incident there, and he's a nice guy. He was able to stick around with me, thank goodness, because I'm not gonna lie, I was tired tonight. I had a rough league race last night, so he was able to be in there and kind of keep me awake. Also want to shout out the sponsors on the car tonight, Sundance Pizza and Butt Kicker. Obviously, couldn't do it without them. Shout out to all the admins. They do a great job with this league. Shout out to all the family and you guys as well for doing the broadcast.
Thank you for giving us such a great show to call. That'll be a third place finisher here tonight in the 75 machine of Gavin Rogers. Gavin, enjoy this finish and good luck at Auto Club next week.
Thanks, guys.
As we move from third place, we're actually going to go all the way down to 10th place, where we get to find this driver in the 17 machine. We have got Chris Stitz with us. Chris, it's Sam and Richard up in the booth. I mean, let's first start off with the first wreck of the day, or one of those early wrecks for yourself. Caught up with early damage, but Chris, how did you fight through the rest of this race after collecting that early damage that you had?
I'm not gonna lie, when I first got into that wreck, I thought I was dead. I thought the engine was gonna be gone. I was just gonna have to sit on pit road the rest of the race and watch my teammates, but it worked out that I only had like a minute of optional damage, so I got back out on track, started in the back again as I started in the beginning of the race, and made my way up through the field and caught a couple lucky breaks, you could say, and just kept pushing, and fortunately got on the right strategy towards the end of the race with the tires the way they were, and the tires weren't all that great. Fresh tires, like they definitely helped, but the draft was just so important here. It's so hard to pass, so you really had to make those tough moves, and being on the inside is not where you wanted to be, but um, made it through and got ourselves a top 10. I can't remember. I don't think I've had a top 10 at an actual non-plate track in this league yet, so that's huge for me. So it's really good.
Yeah, awesome run from you, Chris. Coming back from that wreck that you had. So how did it feel, honestly, running up with some of the guys you don't normally see? Because like you said, first top 10 other than that of a plate race.
It was definitely it was fun. I enjoyed it. Those last couple laps were really hectic, but it's just such a different kind of style. Everyone takes everything and they don't give a lot. So you have to be aggressive if you want to move forward. And those last couple laps, I just kept sending it and making moves and trying to stay up there. And fortunately, someone got into one of the cars in the middle lane and pushed up, and I just took the inside line and just kept going. But like I said, no one gives an inch. You just got to be aggressive. And I wish I could be up here more, but got to keep working at it. Definitely getting better. The results are showing, and I hope to be up here in the top 10 again soon.
We're hoping for that for you as well, Chris. I mean, we're heading to Auto Club next week before our Thanksgiving break, where we go to the 2008 configuration of Atlanta and then Nashville Super Speedway. What's your confidence looking at these next 3 races that are on the schedule for yourself and maybe also for your team that I know you guys have been trying to build some momentum somewhere?
I think Auto Club's going to be really good for us. That's definitely more of a track where there's a lot of difference in all the lines, and you can kind of pick where your car feels best, and it's not like all one line, kind of how here tonight was. And that and Nashville Super Speedway. I know Ken's good at Nashville Super Speedway, so hoping to learn a few things from him and just work on getting better and keep pushing forward.
Well, I can't wait to see what yourself and your team can accomplish throughout the rest of the season. Congratulations on this 10th place finish here tonight, Chris. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Thank you, guys. First off, of course, thank you to Freaky Fast and you guys all up in the booth for everything you do. Really cool to go back and watch these races every week, whether I wreck out or whether I actually do well like tonight. And thank you to my teammates, Ken and Ken Campbell, shout out to his YouTube, and Christopher Wade, and then Andrew Medlin, who unfortunately had a graphics card issue, so can't be with us for these first few races. And just shout out to the league for doing everything. Love racing this league. I'm gonna stick with it for as long as my teammates want to keep doing it. I love racing, and I love doing it all. So yeah, looking forward to next week.
We're happy to see you out there on track, Chris. Enjoy this top 10 finish, and we hope that it gets even better finishes in the future. As for tonight, enjoy it, and good luck next week at Auto Club.
Appreciate it, y'all. Thank you.
As we move from our interviews here tonight, we get ready to take a look at our unofficial results this evening. 41 drivers took the track as 42 registered, but sadly, Adam Kraus was not able to hit course, as 41 were able to. Only a total of 31 drivers on the lead lap. As we take a look here, that top driver is actually going to be Drew Jua in the 88 machine. Zach Hall coming away in second. Gavin Rogers continuing in third place runs as he'll take third for the 75 machine. 74, Nick Crawford will take fourth with Shane Terrian in fifth place. Ryan Kelly sixth with the 28 of Ryan P. Johnson. Another driver that will start in the back will take seventh. Jared Talmadge will take eighth with Larry Yingling ninth. And finishing out our top 10 is that 17 machine of Chris Stitz.
Yeah, I'd like to. Timothy Harper finished 17th. He was up there running for the lead. Just unfortunate, kind of fell back through the field there. It was great seeing him run on older tires with those guys up front. And then just, unfortunate event, unfortunate race for that of Vincent Sora again. Just another rough race. You know, it's sad to see prior champion and even Cedric Hunter having a tough race also back in 37th. So some of these drivers you normally see up front, 2 unlucky races in a row. Hopefully they can get the luck turned around going up to Auto Club next week.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I think Auto Club is just going to be more of what we've seen so far in these first 2 races. Draft, highly important, but tire wear as well. Going to be a factor to watch out for as we head to Auto Club next week for race number 4 of the season for the WSSR Cup Series. I mean, 2 races in, 2 fabulous finishes, and one of those nights where you had no idea who was going to be the main factor to watch out for. I mean, Timothy Harper had chances, Zach Hall with early dominance, seeing other drivers making the surge late to be in placements for good finishes, but ultimately the victory goes to the 88 machine of Drew Jua. Richard, before we take it to a close, I mean, any final thoughts for yourself as we get ourselves prepared to get ready for next week?
Oh man, it's been exciting watching the racing from up here. It's definitely really fun to be able to see the front of the field actually racing and not, you know, near the back where I usually was, unless I got a good qualifying. But you know, it's fantastic to watch these guys race week in and week out. Just great group of drivers, and going from Pocono to Auto Club, just 2 2-mile tracks back to back is going to be crazy. Because even Auto Club is going to be another one where draft is going to be key for making a lot of moves because just how long that track is. So really excited to see what these guys can show next week. Hopefully it's just as exciting as this one, and we can get another exciting finish to another great race.
A lot of great racing action here on Wednesday nights, as well as great racing action we have throughout the week here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We had our past Monday off as drivers were taking off Veterans Day. Now we're going to be having the drivers getting prepared for themselves next week for the ISRC Truck Series as they're getting into more of hard racing throughout their season. For us on Tuesdays, we have concluded our Challenger Racing League racing. Sadly, we're having internet issues and we're not able to give you the coverage of last night's championship race, but we can let you know that it was Christian Stratter taking the championship for the Tuesday night series, and we sadly will not be moving on covering the Challenger Racing League, but it was an honor getting to call those drivers in their first inaugural season. Wednesday nights, we will be back here next week at Auto Club, and we cannot wait for it. Tomorrow night, we've got ourselves some Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series racing action. The open setup drivers get to take their talents to the 1.5 miles of Kansas. We're expecting that one to be a fun one to watch. That's going to be tomorrow night. You do not want to miss it for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. But for this evening, it's been a pleasure to give you the call here at Pocono. 90 laps in the books, did not need overtime, and it was Drew Jua taking the victory. But for us up in the booth, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Richard Wolsifer, for as well Robert Moyer Jr., thank you so much for joining with us on your Wednesday night. It's been an honor to give you the call. For those that were chatting, those just watching, those that are rewatching, thank you for participating in our broadcast. If you haven't already, remember, hit that subscribe button, the like button, and as well, we hope to see you in our next race as we've got the WSSR next week at Auto Club. But if you want more great racing action, we got you covered. It's tomorrow night for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series as the drivers make their final run to the end of the season. Who's going to match Brandon 6? You'll have to find out tomorrow night as the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series heads to Kansas. We'll be back for more racing action on our next Freaky Fast broadcast tomorrow night.